Just on the way out.
Hello again, friends. Despite what you just heard, that was close to perfect, and you are our friends, and welcome back to another edition of Jim Cornette's Drive Thru. It is hot, and we've got hot wrestling talk. The summer's hot.
It's hot.
And it's about to get hotter. I'm your host, the great Brian Last. Screaming ends now.
Just mad, just upset.
And here he is, the leader of the cult of Cornette, the big wrestling reviewer, Mr. Jim Cornette.
Well, you know, Brian, I thought you had it there because I was taking the ride as it started to build, and I was wondering when it was going to come, and it didn't come for a while, and I was like, he might have, and then suddenly, man, then there you go, and then it's just all over the place. All over the keyboard.
It sounded like the theme to the great Brian Last to me. I don't know what you heard. Maybe it's your headphones.
You got that big loud fan on in the background up there and during your heat waves. That was obscuring your hearing.
I don't think so. Again, we'll see what the listeners think every week.
Well,
every week we gain a new fan every single week of this new brand of music that is starting to not just sweep the nation, but sweep the world.
It's been registered what the viewers think, but they're willing to put up with it because we're so good in all the other facets of podcasting. It's just the music is, but nevertheless,
what? That's not.
This show is one of those shows. We don't know how this is going to end because we realize that by the time that we talk about all of the WWE Premium Live event and the AEW never-ending marathon, that it's almost going to be time for Raw, and somebody has some splaining to do on Raw somehow, somebody. So we're going to do the brunt of the program to get it in the pipeline, as they say, and then we're going to come back and time travel and put on an addendum to see if they come up with some kind of what they've got to say for themselves on Raw, just so the people know. So we don't know where we're going with this program, as usual.
Well, no, I think we kind of have an idea. We're going to Saudi Arabia, and then we're going to San Jose, and then I think Raw is in Atlantic City. Wow, it really is all around the world this week.
SA, SJ, and AC.
AC, Boardwalk Hall. Are they still running Boardwalk Hall? That's building?
What I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Because that building, I was there 27, 28 years ago or whatever last time, but it was old then. It's like the building in Atlantic City that they had all the Miss Americas and the political conventions and all that shit in the 30s, 40s, 50s. How old is that place?
It's probably at least 100 years old or close to it. Remember when they had WrestleMania in Atlantic City in 88 and 89? It said Trump Plaza, but there is no Trump Plaza Arena. It was Boardwalk Hall. So even though it didn't have Boardwalk Hall signs, that's where WrestleMania was held.
My favorite, by the time that we get to the review, we'll figure out when they built that thing. But my favorite cover of Time magazine ever was the late 80s. It was the downfall of Atlantic City. And there was a picture, big color picture. And there is Atlantic City with the casinos and the first Trump, whatever Trump put his name on first there. And then they're shooting the picture on the beach, and there's an overturned rowboat with a bum asleep under the boat. And I framed that and still have it here in my office, and I haven't had a place to hang it up yet. But we might be shooting that from offshore of the United States by the time this is over. But anyway.
It really is amazing, a city that at one point was a big deal, and then just really turned into a state of disrepair. There have been attempts to fix it, to beautify it, to buy into it, to change it. I mean, all the way going back, but if we're just looking at the 80s on, to this day, if you go to Atlantic City, and I encourage everyone, don't go to Atlantic City.
Yeah.
If you're in the casino, if you're high enough up and you go look all around, you realize it's a fucking depressing area. The
Oh my
casinos
God.
hide whatever the city of Atlantic City is. It's the most depressing place ever to look at, let alone live in, I can imagine. What a
It's like what
awful
a
place.
I don't know what area, but say the several block large spaceship landed in the middle of a fucking,
Yeah.
village of pygmies in New Zealand or something. I don't know. Is what it looks like, the contrast. And the last time I was there was with Dennis Coralluzzo, and probably in 1999 or earlier. And we went to this Italian restaurant, which was just lovely, and he had got me a room at the casino. But I'm trying to, I'm going to say, so the restaurant's only 4 or 5 blocks. I said, well, it's not, you want to just walk down there? Oh, no, no. And we drove just to the other side of whatever the highway is there. And I was like, what the fuck? And a nice little restaurant on the corner. And he said, you don't want to walk around here at night. You don't want to go any further that way. We're going right back to the, like, Jesus Christ.
Well,
Anyhow, and Brian, before we go any further, I know we got a lot to talk about, but it is still, as we sit here, technically June for about another 12 or 13 hours or whatever it is. So the final tally on the Crusade for Children fundraiser, the sale of Heroes and Friends at JimCornette.com. We will have on the Jim Cornette experience in a couple of days when Hotchkiss gives me the reports when the month actually closes. So I wanted to update everybody on that and let them know that we appreciate their support over June, because it's I think it's over 200 books. I'm pretty sure, but we'll get the final numbers on the experience.
That's right. Final numbers
at JimCornette.com.
And of course, JimCornette.com. Stay tuned for the next big fundraiser, the Cornette Christmas Pizza Fund. I understand they'll be raising money for shortly.
Hey, wait, what? Oh, come on now. We're going to have an update on the pizza place out there in KC. I'm officially trying their products, but that's coming up in the future.
I have a feeling we may hit that wall soon of, you know what? Too much advertising. Stop saying my name, please. It's too much. But Jim, speaking of too much.
Yes.
They pay too much. The travel's too much. Sometimes the events are too much to watch. But WWE Night of Champions returned to Saudi Arabia, and thankfully everyone escaped with their lives. But Jim, let's right now go to this, your review of WWE Night of...
To this, I've got so many pads of papers and things and such. And at least this show, if you've got a good book, you can watch it live and you just, read a chapter in between matches or whatever. You're all right. But it's not burdensome, at least after the competitions.
If you're a fan of wrestling and a fan of commercials, it is the event for you. Let's go now to Jim's review of WWE and ESPN's presentation of WWE Night of Champions 2026. All right, we're back. Back from that. This chair is starting to squeak too much.
Oh, good Lord.
As soon as I move.
There's a problem with the chair. There's a problem with the gardener. There's a problem with the temperature. There's a problem with...
my feud with the chair was at this point over 5-6 years ago, so it's not like they can't come back to the territory.
You got rid of it and got a new chair, and now you're saying the new chair is going to turn on you and do the same thing the old chair did. It's not, the old chair can't come back to get even. You put it in the dump, so it's got to be the new chair turning in sympathy for what you did to the other chair.
I think I may need to do a preemptive strike and just get something new. This was supposed to be the everlasting great chair, and no.
Well, I don't care if you take an axe to that gobstopper and then put it in the backyard and set it on fire, as long as I don't have to hear about it. How about them apples?
Those are nice apples. Jim, speaking of everlasting gobstoppers, let's head to the Middle East, specifically Saudi Arabia. It's Riyadh season, but isn't it always? WWE Night of Champions 2026 in Saudi Arabia.
And yeah, and they had 18,000 plus at the Kingdom Arena. So they were kind enough to inform us. And I get there's again, it's a paid show from the Saudi Arabian, what are the sports washing facility there. But this is the 17th Saudi Arabia show they've done at 50 million bucks a pop, right? So what's $50 million times 17? Uh, Is this even real life anymore? If you'd have told Vince McMahon when he was in the Attitude Era, if you'd have told Vince McMahon, hey, you can do 17 shows for like $750 million, he'd have figured out a way to build a rocket ship and done them on Pluto. I got to say one thing before we start talking about this show. Brian, you know, you may have experienced this in your little person fandom when you were just a young wrestling fan. And what
My little person
saying,
fandom. I was a really big fan of Little Louie in his everlasting feud with Tiger Jackson.
Well, no, I mean, you know, when you were little, when you were a little child, a little person, a little wrestling fan, you always hear of everybody. Oh, I wanted to be so and so was my hero, and I wanted to be like so and so. And whether it went the territory days when you know guys in Memphis wanted to be like Lawler, or whether it was the Attitude Era when guys all around the world wanted to be like Austin. Or it could be little Australian girls now that would want to be like Rhea Ripley. But there's something that you look up to these people, but wow, they're cool. They're doing something cool. They're big stars. They're on TV. They got their own tour bus, whatever the appeal is, right? There's some level of appeal to the fans of wrestling and all throughout the generations that you would look up to the main event stars and the little kiddies and the young people would want to be like them, right?
Right.
Okay. I can see some people might want to be like Cody. Now he's got the bus, he's the belt, the big entrance, he's a big TV star. I can see they might want to be CM Punk because he's kind of the, you know, the anti-establishment kind of guy. I can see they might want Drew. He's a star. He's cool. Whatever the case. Roman Reigns. At least the WWE still has some element of, even though it's boring and it's fucking fake and everybody knows it's bullshit now and not a lot happens, you got these stars that you could still say, well, people might want to become wrestlers to be like them. But now they also know that the chances of anybody ever actually being one of the top stars in the WWE is goddamn minuscule to almost anybody. You can get in a goddamn wrestling school easier than ever. You can be smartened up, allegedly, and trained, and you can work on shows easier than you can get a job at fucking Walmart. Most of the indie shows don't piss test. But you can't expect to be a star, realistically. Whereas the kid in Memphis that looked, you know, he could dream of being a star in Memphis, or the kid in Atlanta could be a star in Atlanta. But it's almost out of reach. But you look at AEW and you up and down the roster, Brian, who would you want to be like? After watching that show, they are a group of stupid people doing stupid shit that's probably going to end up with somebody fucking breaking somebody's neck. There's no cool star. There's no bigger than life personality. I don't want to be like those people. I don't even want to watch those fucking people. And when I was the fan, and the biggest wrestling fan, by the way, that you could possibly be, why would I have wanted? Boy, I'd love to be able to fall into thumbtacks like those fucking guys. Now, but they look ordinary. You have the idea that most people could be a star in AEW, but why would you want to? Who is there on that roster that you can sit there as a person with a level head and say, boy, I'd like to be like,
Buddy
and
Murphy.
that's why, say again.
Buddy Murphy.
All right, maybe, okay.
Lots of money, don't have to come back to work, run around with Rhea Ripley. Sign me up.
I'll give you that. But that's the point. But at the same point, it's accessible because you could be sitting there, these fucking AEW fans probably, yeah, I could do that shit. And they could. So is this a case of the people getting into the wrestling business are now the only ones that want to because they think it's the only chance they got? Is these goddamn goofs that want to have thumbtack matches, which is why the indies are filled with that shit? And no wonder the WWE has to train their own. But then the only other alternative we've got to the Outlaw Mud Show thumbtack crowd is the WWE style, which is to put us to sleep and then wake us up at the end. So I'm just a little discouraged, is what I'm saying.
I don't think that's WWE style. I think it's put you to sleep and wake you up with a loud commercial. That's WWE style. As far as stars in either company, I don't want to presume I know what a kid thinks. One of the rare kids that watches wrestling nowadays, because it's a smaller audience than you realize. It's really guys like us that are watching wrestling. Every time they ever do a test of the demos, that's really the audience.
Yes.
But the arguments you made for guys you could look up to in WWE, it's interesting. I think it kind of is the idea, Vince McMahon's classic idea of they're superstars. Beyond wrestling, before social media, stars were stars in a lot of cases because you didn't know what they were doing all the time.
Yeah.
They must have fantastic lives. They must be so interesting and fucking everyone. No, you found out how boring and sensitive everyone is. But I think with AEW, it's more like, because the fans that are into AEW love AEW, but I don't know, like you said, if anyone's looking up to anyone, but I don't think anyone looked up to La Mumia when he was battling Martin Cardagian. I think it's more like that. It's like, here come all the characters, the town that I get to watch. Orange Cassidy. No one's like, I look up to him. That's the way I want to live my life. No, but you may want to. But if you're really into that kind of crap, you may want to dress up like him once so you get pops from your friends or whatever the fuck. It's different than looking up to anyone.
But that kind of proves my point then is that the only people anymore that will want to get into the wrestling business because it doesn't look appealing to, the normal people anymore that would like to do stuff like that. It's a bunch of people, freak show bullshit, diving off of stuff. And so that's all the people that get into indie wrestlings and therefore AEW, so they could be goofy people doing stupid shit and diving off stuff.
That's interesting because you're right that a good portion of the indie crowd, you can kind of tell who comes up from the indies right away. There are certain things they find acceptable. You could tell. That AEW 12-man tag match was like the indie super show of all time.
Yeah.
It was like Ring of Honor versus CZW had a bastard child. Here it is. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the next 10 years or so with people who are drafted into the business by WWE. Because that's really the only method at this point for a different kind of person to get into the business. The indies are the only option. It's either the indies or WWE finds you and drafts you, and you don't know anything.
And therefore, you end up with the WWE way. You end up with the girl wrestler who was it? That was, was it Tiffany or one of the blonde girls that caught shit because she was looking at old wrestling
Tiffany.
cards on some video. And Sergeant Slaughter's card came up and she said, oh, SGT Slaughter. Not only did she not know who Sergeant Slaughter was, she didn't know what the abbreviation for fucking sergeant was. So you've got a goddamn brain surgeon here, and they know nothing about the business or the background or the reason that it came to be or what it's supposed to be, or nor what it even is supposed to look like. So therefore, you get the very polished performance. The WWE, they're Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. They're gonna goddamn amaze you with their precision and their smoothness and their whirlwindetry. And AEW is a bunch of goddamn 90s mosh pit dancers where they're just gonna beat the shit out of each other with no fucking thought or technique whatsoever until they drop. And then there's wrestling is gone from either side.
And what happens, like I said, in 10 years? Are there going to be a bunch of available WWE trained athletes looking for work? Are those the kind of people Tony eventually will gravitate towards just because of who is available and what's out there? That's kind of the big unknown. What's going to happen? How many of the people that WWE trains and at least make it to NXT are going to stay in the business? And then again, as I'm saying this, unless you're going to New Japan and they're hooked up with AEW, or Mexico and they're hooked up with someone, you're back on the indies. You're back in the same.
Well, or, a lot of these NXT people are probably going to say, what the fuck, thumbtacks? What the fuck? I'll go do personal training or wherever they came from. Anyhow, let's get back to Saudi Arabia. It's just a thought that I had, because we're either going to have this or we're going to have the other. And yeah. The first hour of this program was on ESPN, the regular one, not ESPN 2, 3, 4, 5. And then also it is shown on the, what's the goddamn, the Disney thing, the
Disney
ESPN Plus, Disney Plus. By the time they show the first hour of a show on one channel and tell you to switch over to you're halfway home, aren't you? What the fuck? Anyway.
I hate to sound like an old man and a broken record, but cable was better.
Yeah, obviously. It saved a lot of time, money, and effort. But the two matches they had on the first hour were the King of the Ring final between Oba and Jay, and the Queen of the Ring final between Liv and Io. So we'll start at the beginning. Jey Uso comes out and there's the yeeting and the waving and the lights. And then he milks it and runs it back. And then Oba comes out and the people, they weren't raving and just hijacking the show like the audience from Italy or fucking one of those places that never gets a show because they're jaded over there by now. But they're just into everybody. They'd like to see all of the sparkly lights when the guys come out in their music and they can sing. So here's, for whatever reason, two big baby faces in the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. And they ring the bell and they're on the floor in 30 seconds. I'm like, fuck, I thought this was AEW. They're two baby faces, but they got to go to the floor in the first 30 seconds. And then Jay can post him and hit him with a couple of dives. But Oba pickled him on the third dive and then beat him up. But Jay foiled a power bomb and went to kick Oba in the head, and his foot went right over the top of him. Did you see that?
I did.
Well, we couldn't hardly miss it if you were staring at the screen because it was plain as the fucking... So anyway, he hit number 2 when he came at him from a different angle. And then it just, again, he splashed him off the top rope, but Oba got him by the neck and choke slammed him and got a 2 count. And Oba ran into a kick and a couple more, and Jay speared him again and went to the top and splashed him, but he sold that he couldn't cover and went back to the top and splashed again. Nothing like if when your midsection is injured, go ahead and do another splash and another 2 count. And at this point, I'm just thinking, Oba's sells too long in this, and Oba is not Ricky Morton. He's selling a bit too long here. I know it's Jay, but it's not my fault you made this fucking match. Anyway, Jay got sleeper and Oba just fired up and made a comeback and threw him across the ring and popped him up and power bombed him 1, 2, 3. It was 8 minutes and it did not need to be longer. But I think that's the best that they could probably get out of it. And that was the only result that was in any way sensible.
You said they couldn't have gone any longer. Do you think it should have gone shorter? Because I do.
Well, yes, that's what I've said. Oba was selling too long, but they needed to pick it up. It was a bit too long at 8 minutes.
He beat Brock Lesnar in a few minutes. He couldn't beat Jey Uso in a few. And out of breath Jey Uso, he couldn't beat in a few minutes.
Yes, exactly. And maybe they could have at least said, well, the altitude here in Saudi Arabia. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Just give him some goddamn excuse.
He ingested a lot of sand. There was sand flying around in the air.
He came through a sandstorm on his way to the arena and that's the equivalent of Kerry's 102-degree fever when he was wrestling Flair in Fort Worth.
Well, first we should say thank God Jey Uso didn't win the King of the Ring and get a title shot at SummerSlam. And secondly, what do you think of Obafemi winning? What do you do with him at SummerSlam? And what do you think should be done?
Well, then I still don't I don't know why Brock is hanging over his head. I don't know why they did the second Brock thing now. Could this possibly, here's the thing. I can now buy, not to be a spoiler about anything, but I can buy Obafemi beating Sami Zayn for the title at SummerSlam. I don't know if they have big main event attractions to go along with that type of thing, I could see that happening. I don't know if I can see Obafemi beating Roman Reigns at SummerSlam just yet. And I don't know if I like the idea of him having the match and not winning it just yet.
Right, that was going to be my next question. He did a job for Lesnar after he definitively beat him at WrestleMania. People thought he was retired. He shouldn't be losing the main event match at SummerSlam if he's going to be in it, should he?
Good God, no. But there's the issue then. Why did they bring Brock back into it? What was it about them having to have Brock come back and beat Oba that was integral to their plans going forward involving Brock that they had to take that step rather than, again, when he did that, what he did to the boots and the gloves and everything in the ring, and everybody thought he was retired. And I still think that might have been something that he just said, I'm going to do this here. And they didn't want him to do it. But there has to have been a better way to get him to come back, Brock, and he better be part of SummerSlam in Minneapolis if they've gone to this length to fucking convince us that he's goddamn still around. So I just don't understand how that this is all going to come together to be the best thing that they could have done for everybody involved here. I think they're making shit up as they go in some respects.
Well, Obafemi guaranteed a main event at SummerSlam. It'll be interesting to see what happens now.
Well, what happened then was a lot of commercials and fucking long breaks on ESPN. So it really didn't have particularly a big show feel. And I know if you were watching it on whatever the other thing is, that they were just showing us fucking spots and tapes and bullshit too. Danhausen came out. He's very excited to continue his experiments and probably was actually really shitting himself that he gets to be on this $50 million show here in Saudi Arabia. Unless I don't know, do the Saudi Arabians like ghouls? Are they allowed to show their pale skin? What is Danhausen exactly? Is he a mad scientist? Is he a ghoul? Is he a vampire? Is he a potentially a David Manners or Dwight Fry type of, Renfield type of character? What species would Danhausen be, Brian?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer any of this. I don't know.
Well, you should study up on these things. I thought as a matter of fact, you should go to Danhausen's laboratory. And that way you can check out all his equipment and tell us how he operates. Go undercover. So Danhausen was out there very excited to continue his experiments. And then Liv Morgan came out and they did a bit. They had a bit to do on stage where basically she says that Danhausen owes Judgment Day and a lot of money, or else he's cursed them in some fashion. And well, Danhausen says he's not going to pay any human monies, and you are cursed. And then Liv slapped Danhausen and went to the ring for the Queen of the Ring final, where we're now pretty goddamn convinced that she's going to lose already, right? What? And her opponent is Io Sky to make it even worse. And I wrote, Jesus Christ, Io will win. Io. So Io came out in one of the more ridiculous full body outfits that the women are forced to wear there because of the weirdness of the locals, and furry boots looking like they belong to Bruiser Brody's illegitimate daughter. And by the time this match started, we were like 35 minutes almost into the first hour broadcast. So you know how I feel. Io screeches and grins well, and both of these girls together are 10 feet tall and 180 pounds. And when I watched for a minute, Io hits the ropes don't move. They move harder at a stiff breeze. It looks like the Mexican minis. So anyway, that was the only 2 matches in the first hour of the program. And of course, Io won because Liv was cursed. How did you love it, Brian? Because you're an Io lover.
I thought it was all right. I'm not an Io lover. I think she's all right. I do think some people go way too far with just how much they love her. She's had good matches, but the pointing at the head thing is the stupidest thing ever. It was an all right match.
It appears she does have some pain there, like she's pointing and grimacing at, please take this tumor out of my head.
You just want to know, is it something that she came here and said, this is my thing, I'll do it? Or was like someone in NXT like, you need something that's your thing. What can you do? And she's like, I can do this. And she's the new Queen of the Ring. So now she gets a title match at SummerSlam, and she announced it right away. It'll be against the person she defeated here, Liv Morgan.
So we can see this goddamn thing again. Oh, Christ.
You may like it better the next time.
Go ahead and poke your other eye with a sharp stick and see if you get more positive results. Go ahead, kid. I'll wait. All right. Well, would you like to move on? Because I was waiting for a match that I wanted to see with some anticipation, and I was quickly disappointed. They pulled the rug right out from under me. The cage match between Seth Franklin Rollins and Braun Breaker. I thought, well, we went through this. I said, I'm the triple threat I was positive on, and we'll get to that in a minute. And this match, I want to see Braun's progress. He's a main event guy. Whether Rollins has a bit of the modern style to him that I could take or leave, but he's a good athlete. He's a veteran. So now we're going to be able to see how Braun's work is progressing. And in a cage match, we got a little gimmick to it. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm always interested in watching Braun. And then before the match even started, as soon as Seth came out, he threw a bunch of kendo sticks and chairs in the cage and a table. And then I wrote, God damn it, 2 tables. So after all that shit's in the ring, he gets and sits down in the chair. So we're going to have a modern garbage match instead of a goddamn wrestling cage match. So I was already disappointed, and there's an opportunity lost. What they did, and we'll go into a bit of detail, not as much as I would have if it's something I could actually critique based on how Braun is improving or whether it was good or not. But at least they performed it just as well as any other top guys in this company would perform one of these fucking things they perform. And it was, again, perfect chance. They're locked in a cage, man on man, Logan Paul, Austin Theory, and Paul Lee in various storyline and or legitimate injury reasons, not in Saudi Arabia. So we didn't have to worry about bullshit run-ins. It could have been a nice Braun Breaker looks great. And then he pulled a trash can out and threw in some more chairs, some more sticks. And so there you go. Yeah, I was disappointed from there. What did you think of any of this?
I've not been a big fan of Rollins, although he usually, rises for the occasion and gets a great match. I really didn't like it that much. I haven't been feeling the Rollins Vision feud at all. But yeah, I know.
And Braun is the fucking heel that turned on him and originally injured him before everybody else got goddamn misdirected. But nevertheless, I'm not taking the piss out of these guys. They're serious. Their physical work is good in terms of it doesn't look phony or goddamn awkward. They look like stars. The fans are into it, but they could have done so much more having a serious match instead of the indie bullshit with the sticks and the fucking furniture. And
just the sitting in the chairs. I mean, just everything.
Well, yes, because it's all this indie bullshit. I've seen that on indies where they'll then suddenly charge at each other with intensity and blah, blah, blah. At one point, Seth just hit him with a kendo stick so many fucking times he broke the stick and it just meaningless. And they take time to set up tables but they do spots with chairs where they have to set up the chairs or get bumped onto the chairs. And then they actually at one point did a sloppy fake chair spot where Braun actually was trash talking him and Seth is conscious. I don't even know how to explain this verbally, otherwise that he sticks his head in the chair and expects him to remain there while Braun rears back several feet away and goes to do some fucking thing, and Seth just fucking threw the chair at, I don't know. But anyway, there was a superplex off the top of the cage through a table, and a table cut Braun's left eye when it broke and flew up sideways like they're prone to do, which is why it's so fucking stupid. And then at least they had something going on. Braun had hit a super spear, boom, 2 count. Okay, I'd like to declare a moratorium on him hitting that super spear and anybody kicking out, but God damn it, it's a $50 million show, so give him a pop. But then Braun was trying to go out the door and Seth caught him, and Braun tried a spear but went through the table that was set, leaned up in the corner instead. And Seth immediately hit a pedigree and the stomp, cover, 1, 2, kick. I mean, what the fuck? Then as Braun is on his knees and kind of bent over, Seth gets set up for a stomp. And Braun looks up groggy, but holds his hand up, like almost like the old midget wrestling spot where they've been doing a crisscross, and then the guy would hold his hand up, stop, and the other guy would. He just held his hand up, and Seth stopped. Like happens in all major grudge matches or world championship matches. When the guy says, oh, stop, don't hit me. Well, of course, and I'll certainly don't want to do anything below board. And Braun, they're trying to. It's another of these modern fucking finishes that these goddamn, even on this level, we have indie-minded goofs that just think that this shit works, and it don't. It's just stupid. Braun is trying to stand up and show the fighting spirit. There's some Japanese fucking genealogy in this do hockey. And as he's trying to bow up, he's standing up to his feet. So Seth says, well, fuck it, I'll just go up to the top. So he sits up on a top turnbuckle and comes off, but Braun is still keeping his position with his head bent slightly so that Seth can give him a super stomp coming off the fucking second rope. 1, 2, 3. God damn it. They had a perfect fucking finish. The best 45 seconds or whatever exchange of this whole goddamn 3-hour program was when Braun went for that fucking spear and Seth moved and he went through the table and Seth hit the pedigree and the fucking stomp. That should have been the 1, 2, 3 if it was coming. If you're going to beat Braun, that's the best way to beat him. He fucking almost annihilated the son of a bitch, but instead he went through the table and brained himself where he turned around into the goddamn 2 top finishes of one of the main event stars in the company in quick succession. 1, 2, 3. The place would have blown. Braun's got an out. Seth won the match. And they kick out and then make Braun look like a fucking idiot for just looking at the guy that is about to come off the top rope and fucking kick his head in and not doing a goddamn thing about it. And Seth, for his fucking panties in a wad effort, when the guy that he's about to kick the shit out of holds his hand up to like, stop. And he, oh, okay. Stupid motherfuckers. Your thoughts?
For someone who's immensely talented, Rollins has a lot of matches where there's a lot of stupid shit. And this match, again, they come out there and immediately go to let you know they're going to have weapons in the cage. Where it wasn't necessary. If there was ever a cage match where the two guys should have just started pounding the shit out of each other because of, their blood feud, because of everything that happened, this was it. Instead, it was just another match. And Braun lost.
And don't blame Rollins, because there's producers in that company. Somebody has goddamn say so. They're not just telling the boy, it's not AEW. They're not just, yeah, you guys go figure it out. They call it in the ring. And somebody else had to approve that. Did they realize how stupid that would look? Did they realize how badly that would derail the momentum of the goddamn sequence of events and make everybody just look blah? The fuck?
Where was Heyman?
Well, he's been injured by being speared through the barricade, meaning that apparently he was like, God damn, I may get a blood clot on a flight that long. I don't want to go over there. That's something that, when you're in that kind of condition and you're reach that age, you got to watch out for your blood to start clotting.
Who knew? Well, there was more, Jim. More from.
That's right. There was more. Well, it's your show. So I was waiting for you to lead the way, but I'll just take over if it's something you'd prefer. The United States title was on the line, Daddy, with Trick Williams and Lil Yachty against Ricky Saints, who have I don't know that they've come marching in yet. I'm wondering if Starkman was. I'm getting the idea that he might have looked like a big fish because he was over in a stagnant pond. Or what is happening? His confidence level may or may not be the same thing, and it just help me understand why he doesn't shine here like he's shown over there. Is it that just somebody was actually taking themselves seriously over there?
I don't know. Is it a matter of the fact that now they're producing him and this is how they produce Ricky Starks or Ricky Saints? Versus over
Well,
there where it was get on the mic and let's see what happens.
see, here's the thing. I don't know whether maybe he's past this point where he's resigned to it or whatever. But when he was getting heat in the mat, it was mediocre heat. And I'm not talking about the fans weren't necessarily into it because this wasn't one of the big main events. I'm talking about he could have figured out some way to project more than he did when he was in control. Trick is bigger, Trick looks better, Trick is more over. Saints's work is probably better technically, but he didn't jump off the screen at you if this is his chance to prove something. And they did the Eddie Guerrero tribute fake stick shot, and where Starks grabbed the stick behind the referee's back, hit the stairs, dropped the stick, and fell down. And the referee turned around and thought that it was Little Yachty that did it and kicked Little Yachty out of ringside. But if you hear the sound of a kendo stick hitting the metal stairs and you turn around, are we to assume that Saints has a steel plate in his head? Brian, what the fuck was that?
I can't explain it.
Uh,
Lil Yachty, who's a great babyface manager. I haven't seen one of those in a very long time.
yeah, we didn't get to see a lot of him here either.
No. Thanks for flying over.
Yeah, thank you for coming. So, but then the Saints, that's when he started the heat. And I think I zoned out. And here's the thing, Trick is not Ricky Morton. So just naturally sell and fluidly be that's why I say that Saints, I believe, should have come up with more creative and more aggressive ways to stay on the son of a bitch and let him continue to fight back from underneath, but get shut down in a variety of heelish ways. And if you blow Trick up, you blow Trick up because, you got to get a little for yourself here, son. I say, son. So finally, when Trick did his comeback, I think he's doing too much Booker T. This is coming. All he needs is some long dreads. This is coming off as a Booker T tribute, act rather than he's influenced by and looked up to. Do one of his moves, or maybe two on the big matches, but the leaping kicks that he does at his comeback, just the way he moves, and it's. Do you see what I'm saying? Is that it doesn't look like he's been, trained by or mentored by him. It looks like he's trying to do him. Am I being too critical here?
I had not had that thought, but I'll pay attention next time I watch Trick to see it.
Well, now you're not going to be able to not see it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you've done to several wrestlers when you've mentioned some awful thing about them and then I can't unsee it ever again.
Well, these are the things that jump out at me. I spent a long time trying to look for shit to tell people not to fucking do. But anyway, that's the thing, is that once that Trick made his comeback and then Saints took back over and the people were kind of blah and they went back and forth and I was saying too long. And finally, out of semi-nowhere, Trick hit a knee. 1, 2, 3. And then I looked, it was only 11 minutes. It seemed longer than 11 minutes. And then, this is what I'm saying, Lil Yachty came back out, and he got to beat up Saints with the kendo stick, and then Saints laid there while he gave him the people's elbow, little Yachty. So I'm like, have they just already beaten the ambition out of this guy? Because what a fucking finish. You're going to beat me with your finish, and then your manager is going to come out and beat me with a kendo stick, and then he's going to give me the goddamn Rock's fucking finish. What?
Well, a big match, and not the last match on the show. More to come.
Yes, and Jade and Tiffy and somehow I missed it. I was going to fast forward to where they actually got started wrestling, and suddenly here was the entrances for the main event coming up. So was it maybe edited out of the broadcast, the replay, that I watched hours after the fact? Could that have been what happened? How could this have taken place, Brian?
You must have just missed it. You must have fast forwarded right past it.
Did I blink? Was it like one of those 17-second jobs or whatever? Or maybe the puppies distracted me.
I wish I could tell you a lot of details about it, but I don't remember. I saw it. I don't remember who won. And I don't remember how long it went. I remember that was the match where I pointed out to my family, look, they have to wear bodysuits over there or they'll die.
Well, you don't remember who won, but I know who lost. The fans. All right. Time for our main event, ladies and gentlemen. That's an old locker room fucking. For the triple threat match for the WWE World, this is the undisputed championship.
Without dispute, yes.
That's in dispute currently with the other guy. Says he's the world title. Sami Zayn entered and got a big pop, and they were singing whatever it is that they sing, and he's dressed in the traditional Saudi robes, and he's like a transplanted local hero here. They've taken to him, and what can we say? This is not El Generico. You've come a long way, baby. I was he took the plunge. He finally took the plunge and said, I've had a goddamn stupid gimmick on these outlaw shows for the past 15 years, and I'm gonna fucking be myself. And now he's in the main event winning the fucking title.
I don't know if he came to that realization other than he signed with WWE and developmental. It's like, yeah, you're not wearing that mask with that dumb gimmick. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's what it took, actually. But nevertheless, now he's a hero. He's not El Generico, he's El Specifico. And then Gunther entered, and what a fucking wrestling heel. Again, I reiterate, there's no such thing as a perfect wrestler, but for a person who just does the fewest things wrong in today's business, it would have to be Gunther. And then Cody comes out, and there's the singing, and there's the big response on his entrance. But then when the introductions happen, there's a big pop for Sammy, there's boos for Gunther. And for Cody, it wasn't overwhelmingly positive. It was mixed. There was some ooh in the middle of it, to where it got kind of in that mid-range of things. And this, I said this on the review that we did, or the preview. I hate triple threat matches, but if you're ever going to have one, this was the way to set it up and the way to have it. Because you legitimately have three guys that you've got one baby face, you got one heel, and you got one guy who, for some reason, is in the middle and you could believe could go either way or do whatever. And they each have a personal issue that would preclude them from getting along with the other two. It was set up right, and as we'll see, it was executed right. But think how much, again, I say this all the time, how much more special something like this would have been if you hadn't seen a three-way match anywhere in a year or so. Glory, hallelujah. That day hopefully will come sometime. It'd be Shangri-La. But that's Cody as the champion here. He's possibly going to have to be pressed to do something unsavory to keep his title. And Sammy's got the home country religion advantage, and Gunther is flat out unpalatable for decent society. Now, here's the thing, Brad, I thought about this. As soon as when Cody's entrance starts and the American Nightmare and the red, white, and blue pops up, is it going to start? I know they don't hold it against him, but I wonder, is it going to start in the UK or in Canada, everywhere where they think we're all assholes over here? Is it going to hurt him that his gimmick is the American Nightmare? They're like, yeah, we see you're living it every goddamn day.
I don't think they blame American citizens for anything they don't like with the president. I don't think so at all.
If I was him, I'd become multicultural. I would announce that he's getting dual citizenship with the fucking Isle of Man or something, just to make sure. So it could be the Nightmare of Man. See, there you go. Boom. All right. This one, the three-way, three great workers, logical reasoning. You have to ignore the one guy disappearing for long periods of time for nebulous reasons at best. But they started out and they had a fast pace and they did nice spots and there was nothing stupid or out of place. It's nice to see regular ring posts again. But for $50 million, they can't take those fancy LED ring posts fucking Saudi Arabia. They're over there 4 times a fucking year. How much those things cost? But it was nice to see a regular ring. Again, they had spots in here that it was allowed to progress and build. Sammy and Cody. Cody hit the fucking crossroads on Gunther and got a 2 count, and Sammy had pulled the ref. And then Sammy and Cody would fight, and Sammy hit a brainbuster on Cody, but Gunther saved, and Gunther beat both of them up. There was good momentum changes. They had to again do a nod to no disqualification. Well, that Cody went out and cleared off one desk, but then Sammy stopped him and cleared off another desk. And Sammy went for a pile driver on one of the desks, but Cody backdropped Sammy from one desk to another, which was a nice bump. And actually, not only a very well executed, but one of the safer, goddamn smarter ways to take one of these stupid, crazy fucking table-to-table bumps. I've seen anybody do it. It looked great. But then Gunther powerbombed Cody on the other desk and it didn't break. So he picked him up, did it again. And then it broke. Possibly Cody along with it. I would be like, goddamn. If somebody power bombs me one time on something that we hope is going to break and it don't, well, geez. Either do something different later on or just goddamn go on and accept it. But do you have to just, oh shit, so we're sorry it didn't break here. We're going to do it all over again for you. Okay, Sam. Let's see, where was I? But the twists and turns. Gunther with a sleeper on Cody. Sammy saved Cody's arm from dropping. The referee was going to do the old check the arm, and as it's starting to drop, Sammy catches it. I'm not sure that the Admiral Lord Mount Evans or Lord Mountbatten, according to Nigel, I'm not sure that that's allowed. And of course, by now, Michael Cole's microphone was offline because they've destroyed the broadcast equipment at ringside. So Corey Graves was doing a nice job, but he had to give what?
No, let me just say this. This is a very interesting part of the match because you could still kind of hear Michael Cole yelling in the background because the other mics are picking him up. But Corey Graves was loud and clear. And again, this reinforces my point. Give him credit. He was not very good when he first started and they started overusing him. He has turned himself into the best commentator in wrestling. He did a great job here in that little moment.
When he was allowed to, because that's what I was.
And then Michael Cole jumped back in and did a worse job. That was the thing that stood out.
Well, no, because he had to give him his headset. That's the thing is that Cole's headset is trash. And we can hear Corey, and Corey's calling the shit, and okay. And then suddenly you're Michael Cole again. Graves they'd switched headsets. That's what they did. So now you could hear fucking Graves. But at least you could hear Michael Cole. I don't know how many people besides the truck were screaming for that to happen.
No, it was awful. Michael Cole does not sound authentic. Corey Graves knows how to sound authentic. He's been making it work. He killed it with AAA, that show we watched. And again, it stood out here when he was the only voice you heard. He made it work.
Well, and then I forget, because now I think they finally got, or did they ever get him, both of them back together? Because now Cody hit the super cutter on Gunther and went for a crossroads on Sammy, but Sammy hit the crossroads on Cody Rhodes. And then suddenly they came out to where, boom, Cody hit a double crossroads on Sammy and Gunther. And to be honest, I'll give him a 10 for the concept and maybe half that for execution. But nevertheless, he went for the crossroads on Sammy, and Sammy just forward rolled him 1, 2, 3. And the people, it was like every goddamn bed sheet in the country shot up in the air at the same time when they all stood up. And they didn't expect that. Nobody expected that. Well, some people may have suspected it was possible, but the average Sheik over there was caught unawares, and they went crazy, and it worked. It was a good match and a good fucking finish, and the people in the building loved it. Now, how will the United States, how will it work into what they're trying to do here in the United States for SummerSlam? That we need to know before we know that they should have done this, but it was a rousing success on the execution of the performance of. And it was about 20 minutes, so it didn't fucking drone on and on and on.
Do you think it's a guarantee that Sami Zayn will be champion at SummerSlam?
Well, no, it's not a guarantee. But that's what I'm saying is, however this fits into whatever they're going to do for SummerSlam, we will have to judge whether this was a good move to make for the world by that, instead of whether it was just a good move to make for Saudi Arabia. Although Saudi Arabia does account for $750 million in the fucking world, I guess. So, Jesus Christ.
I had a feeling they were going to do this. That's why I brought it up when we did the preview. What about Sammy getting the belt? If they were ever going to do it, this was, other than Montreal, this was the place to do it. And it got the big pop. And Sammy gets his turn, because that's a big
He gets his shot. You know, he was like the Sammy Davis Jr. of the Rat Pack. He was the one who was always getting disrespected. He was the most talented one of the bunch. And now finally he gets his major award.
And now he's singing I Gotta Be Me.
Now he's singing Candyman.
Well, we'll see where they go with it. It's going to be interesting because obviously he's a champion. What's Cody Rhodes and Gunther's role going into SummerSlam? CM Punk is supposed to be returning to SmackDown imminently. You got to think he'd be involved with one of those guys, the main event picture. Cody Rhodes, Gunther, now Sami Zayn. So wherever they're going for SummerSlam.
And here's a thought. We know that the main event on WrestleMania, on SummerSlam or WrestleMania, we know the main event on these big shows doesn't necessarily have to have a title on the line, because there have been a number of instances in modern times where it hasn't been for a championship of some description. So if they have a strong enough card then could we see CM Punk and Cody Rhodes for some reason battling over not
Randy.
leaping over the other in
Oh,
line? No, being the next guy to get fucking Sammy or whatever the fuck, rather than, in other words, if
you know,
Cody says rematch and Punk is like, well, wait a minute, it's my turn or whatever the fuck. I don't know. I'm just thinking they've got less than 8 weeks now to no fuck less than 5 weeks because it's goddamn the first weekend of August.
it's 2 nights too,
Uh,
right?
it's 2 nights. So when does this shit start making sense?
Maybe they could do, I don't know if you saw much IWCCW, but it was on Sports Channel when I was a kid, Channel 3, so it was on a lot. And over and over and over again, they aired the Honky Tonk Man debating with Rick Rude, with Bill Apter holding the mic, over who was the greatest intercontinental champion of all time. It's always weird when a promotion does an angle based on some other company's title that neither guy holds. And then, of course, there's no match. There's no payoff. It's just the angle. And then every week it aired, who do you think is the greatest? There it is for Cody and Punk. Who do you think Tony Khan loved more? It's the same thing. Where's Owen? When's Kevin Owens due back?
Who knows?
He's been gone. It's been over a year, right?
Well, yes, but at the same time, at the time we heard the injury was fairly serious, and he didn't jump right into the procedure, whatever the procedure was, because they wanted to take their time and care as they should. And then we haven't heard a lot of updates, but maybe that's, maybe that's a good thing if we haven't been hearing and he comes out of nowhere. But who would have thunk that a few years ago we was, gosh, wish Owens would get back.
Well, I'm just trying to think what could play out. Who's a main eventer?
I wish Owens would get back now at this point.
Who's a main eventer that could be slotted in there? I mean, obviously, we also don't know what's happening with Brock, if anything, for SummerSlam. That's still a big mystery out there. Well, we'll see how this comes together. That was WWE Night of Champions.
I think they ought to have Brock Lesnar versus Paul Heyman. In Minneapolis at SummerSlam. That would be, I'll buy a ticket.
All right, well, that would certainly be a radical departure from the current booking. But Jim, Saudi Arabia is a long ways away, and you may have a hotel, you may have whatever over there, but you really just want to get home. And, of course, being in the desert heat, in desert conditions, with the threat of constant beheadings, you may not be the freshest. You may need to keep yourself clean. How am I going to get there? Let's go to Jim Cornette, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, good. You've given me enough time that I was able to fucking spin the battery in my mouse around that I could go to this copy. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have copy that we sometimes even refer to when we're talking about our fine advertisers. But boy, I'll tell you what, have you ever just said, God almighty, my ass stinks? I've got a dirty ass and I need to wipe my ass or clean my ass. Sometimes you say that. And you wouldn't be saying it nearly as often if you knew our friends over at Tushy at hellotushy.com. Don't just go to Tushy.com because you won't see the same kind of product.
It's Hello Tushy. Let's
hellotushy.com. See,
that. That's right.
Is we can't specify enough. Is where you go, especially the kids should go there because they'll show you the way to go.
Let's keep the kids out of this.
Well, let's keep the kids in the bathroom where they can't do any damage. That's what we do. And folks, speaking of doing damage in the bathroom, you have no idea how you're wrecking your sphincter. Right now, every day that you go, when you go in the bathroom to go, and then you go, well, some of your skin is gone off your ass when you're wiping with toilet paper. They call it micro tears. It causes irritation. See, if you took a microscope, Brian, and you just stared up close at somebody's fucking poop chute, you would see that there's a variety of things that just flake off along with it's the stretching is what it is. Some people stretch massively to evacuate
Well,
the
that's
things that
you know
happen,
what?
and then
This is
so you're
one of
leaving
those.
residue and you're causing irritation. And what you need to do instead of wiping it with this rough toilet paper with it, have you seen the dust that comes off of toilet paper? Just a fine white powdery dust that comes off of toilet paper, and that's all over your ass. And then it mixes with the wetness down there and creates a paste that's kind of like Elmer's glue, which is some of the reason why that it's harder for you to poop, and it's a vicious circle. So you need to get some water on that. And with Tushy, the bidet, because those French people know about washing their asses, it transforms your bathroom wellness. 99% of the people who wash with Tushy warm water bidets feel cleaner and fresher after going duty. And they instantly modernize your daily routine and the bathroom with a heated seat, adjustable water temperature, and a powerful yet gentle dryer. Do not think that it's a heavy duty dryer or anything, because they started those and people were popping up off the seat. You know, they had them up on the ceiling, kind of like one of those.
That's not what
The
happened.
thing that came up under Marilyn Monroe's skirt in the but anyway,
this is not this. No,
every Tushy bidet. See, if Marilyn had a Tushy bidet, then she wouldn't have.
Then what?
She wouldn't have met an undecisive end. They easily attach to your existing toilet without the need for additional plumbing or plumbers with plumber cracks that need the use of the bidet. Hey, you just need an outlet. And if we can be your outlet, folks, you got to get it out sometimes. Just pour it out to us, or let the Tushy bidet pour it out into you.
What the hell are you saying? What are you saying?
Well, just have an outlet is all you need for the bidet.
Yeah, I think the detail.
Just let it all hang out.
This is an egregious amount of detail. Ladies and gentlemen, you know how it is. You got to wash that ass, especially if you want to go out and meet someone and take them home tonight. You got to make sure you smell good if you want anything to go on. You know what I'm talking about. Woo! Space Mountain and all that shit. Listen, wash your ass and wash it with Tushy. I don't know why I'm yelling, but Jim.
Why are you yelling about Space Mountain washing his ass? And I'll tell you, for my age group, over half the people who wash with Tushy soothe their hemorrhoids. And 9 out of 10 people reduce itching and discomfort. So if you're singing that old Johnny Cash song, well, it burns, 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 that ring of fire, this will help you. Instead of wiping endlessly with the toilet paper, just endlessly, just on your hand, just wrapping it around over and over and fisting yourself with a forest of toilet paper. It's easy to use. Just sit, cleanse, and dry. It's hands-free. You can be there. You can be writing or painting. Possibly you're painting while a machine is attending to your poop chute in nether regions.
No, that's a reasonable thing to do at that time.
And you'll use up to 80% less toilet paper, according to the many studies that have been made by the Juergens Institute. And it comes with a 30-day hassle-free return and a 12-month warranty, so it will continue to clean your ass for 1 year, which is more than your spouse will do when you're in a home somewhere. They ain't going to clean your ass probably more than 3 times before they give up and you never see them again. These things will do it for 12 months. So anyway, stop guessing when your ass is clean and start feeling it. See, you have to guess because most people can't stick their own head up their own ass, only certain people in wrestling. And for a limited time, our listeners get 10% off their first bidet order when you use the promo code JCE at checkout at HelloTushy, TUSHY.com, HelloTushy.com, the promo code JCE, the discount 10% off the first bidet order. Bidet, 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 good day to the bidet, and say finay to the Klingons.
Ladies and gentlemen, bidet today with Tushy. Once again, to clarify that website, HelloTushy.com.
Yes.
/JCE.
You know what? I think maybe I'll see if the boys, if Buddy and Alfie want to get in on this thing too, try to potty train them that way.
Oh no, this is
They're
for
just a
human.
poop machine.
This is for
And
human.
they poop more
Yes.
than anybody I know. Ooh, they're just a poop machine.
Well, once again, when you're done doing that, Tushy.
Yeah.
HelloTushy.com/JCE.
Oh, hello, Tushy. It's so nice to have you
right.
back where you belong.
Somebody needs to stop this man. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back after this short commercial timeout. All right. We are back in the present. We're on solid land. And the wrestling action continues. That was Saturday, Jim. A Saturday afternoon on the East Coast, the morning on the West Coast.
Oh, boy.
But the next evening, from the West Coast, from San Jose, California, AEW Forbidden Door. Technically, I guess it's still AEW in New Japan's Forbidden Door, with Stardom and CMLL participating as well.
Everybody can play here.
I'm going to preface this review by saying something that you'll probably disagree with. But there was a stretch of this show where there were several matches I really got into, and I was surprised I got into them.
You told me this, and I did find it hard to believe. Would you care to further explain your opinion?
And we'll go forward with it. I couldn't stand the opening match. I hate the Young Bucks matches. Every Young Bucks match is lazy. We can't exist in the confines of wrestling. So in order to do the spots that we really, really need to do to get anyone to react to us, we need to completely break all the rules and have tornado matches with the same fucking bald-headed geek referee. So I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Despite the international superstars in the match.
But see, I knew that I was going to have the same opinion as you about that. And that's why, especially when I turned on the program and saw that it was going to last 4 hours and 54 minutes, and this is not including whatever the pre-show was that they did, I said, well, there's no sense in me repeating the obvious over and over and getting a bad taste in my mouth. So I immediately skipped ahead after the Hardley Boys took on Titan and Shingo Takagi and Mystico and Masquerita Dorito. So, but I still don't know how you could get a string going here on this thing.
Well, again, I don't want to jump on any of the reviews in advance, but I found myself getting into the end of Omega and Sabre. I found myself surprisingly enjoying the Moxley match up until the finish with Bandito. I liked Tekla and Starlight Kid just fine. It's crazy when they said both of their heights, but we'll get there. Mercedes Moné.
What?
I like that match. I'm thinking
it went for 45 minutes.
I'm thinking I'm on a run here. Maybe they're actually doing another really great pay-per-view. I kind of liked some of the stuff last time. And then the last two matches. One match, which was just about everything I hate, and the other match, which ended with me hating the wrestlers. Those matches sucked the life out of me. I couldn't wait to go to sleep. I couldn't wait for that main event to fucking end.
You were calling Dr. Conrad Murray. Doc, I need an injection.
But that's what I was going to say. The main event, the last match, the last two matches were everything to me that's wrong with AEW and modern indie wrestling thinking. And there was enough other stuff on the show that I thought was okay, but that really kind of ruined it for me.
Well, and here's what did I say at the top of the Night of Champions? What I said, unfortunately, we've gotten to the point where the only people that want to get in this business are people that think that this shit, they want to roll around in the thumbtacks. They want to fucking just do to excess everything. And in their minds, they've created superhero characters for themselves that they're not really, and they're allowed to live out their fantasies. Whereas you used to actually get fucking guys that wanted to be wrestlers. Whether they were ex-football players or ex-wrestlers or just big guys or guys with a fucking line of bullshit. They had to be athletic in some fashion unless they were freakishly large or whatever. But they took the business seriously and they earned a living that way. And they learned how to protect themselves. But now you've got either high level athletes that have never seen a goddamn wrestling match, as we said, that are going to be recruited by invitation only into the WWE system and trained in one specific way and trained also to do whatever the fuck it is they do in the way of their entertainment, because they think that's part of the being a wrestler. And then you're going to have the little indie goofs that just want to roll around in fucking barbed wire. Who else? What sane people would want to be get in the wrestling business anymore? And as I said, 4 hours and 54. What was on the pre-show, Brian?
Well, first of all, it was hosted by Renee Paquette and Jeff Jarrett. So Mick Foley was, I don't know if he was one and done or just he had something else to do, but they made a big deal out of Mick Foley doing it last time and he wasn't there this time. And Jeff, it's too much. I don't know. I don't like Jeff Jarrett trying to sell things. It just doesn't seem he's more authentic when he's selling things without trying to sell things. But it was that. There was a women's tag match with Megan Bain and the other tall girl. And
so they did another 2 or 3 matches, and as another. So they gave them an hour of wrestling before they gave them 5 hours of wrestling. Is basically the point that so.
And they had a hot crowd. That was an AEW crowd. That was
and boy howdy was it! They must have come in like the Grateful Dead fans in caravans to see because they. Whew. Anyhow, so let's skip ahead the triple threat, which that had to go 20 minutes. And then Kenny and Sabre. And you said you started to get into the end of it. I'm just trying to figure out if they're supposed to be, okay, Zack Sabre Jr. is supposed to be the greatest technical wrestler in the world, according to the way they're selling him.
Oh my God. On commentary, they literally said he's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Holy Christ on a cracker.
Which is insane. Right. That's just stupidity.
And see, that's why I'm looking at it from a business perspective. And if I'm running a promotion that's trying to do anything in a positive fashion, and I'm trying to get people to believe anything that my announcers say or sell, you can't sell this fucking skinny little Q-tip motherfucker as and Kenny at least has a physique, for God's sake. Kenny has one of the most unintimidating demeanors of any pro wrestler on the planet, but he looks good. But Sabre, what the fuck? He is like a lot of these guys. They've watched the tapes. They've looked up to Johnny Saint and went to seminars, and they've learned to perform the shit they saw those salty old bastards do. And it looks like it, performing. And besides performing the stuff, Zack Sabre Jr. looks in no way like an old-time World of Sports shooter, like a goddamn credible grappler that would be in a UFC or MMA fight, like a technician of whatever the fuck that would be. It would be like casting me in the lead of a romantic comedy. It just doesn't fucking work visually. As well as you can tell that it's like a goddamn dance routine for World of Sport fucking moves and blah, blah, blah. But then if they're trying to say, okay, so Kenny is going to have to out wrestle the best technical wrestler in the world, why do they go to the floor for 3 straight minutes doing stunts with pieces of the desk and then go back and forth on the announce desk, including getting a submission hold until they accidentally fell off the fucking desk? And the referee didn't count for 5 minutes. Doesn't that, has that not kind of ruined the best technical wrestler in the world? You can't even remember to get back in the ring for 5 fucking minutes.
I think the lack of countouts or the referees not counting, whatever it is, it's an industry-wide problem right now, but especially in AEW. I think it's a problem. And again, I think you're uncreative if you can't do your match without having a few minutes on the floor where the referee forgets how to count. And also, with that said, WWE especially, but now AEW too, the broadcaster desk spot has been so overdone, I never want to see it again. It doesn't have any impact. I know people pop if someone goes through something, but it has no impact anymore.
It's also the second match. It's the second fucking match of 5 hours of matches. That's the thing. It's all overdone. It's all done and done and done. I was 10 minutes in to this match, and they'd already been out on the fucking desk and fallen off the desk and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, God damn it. I'm just fucking zoning out. I skipped ahead 5 minutes. They were still going. I skipped ahead 3 more minutes. They were still going. They were doing the kicks and the knee lifts, and then they broke into a slap fight. And maybe Kenny's auditioning Sabre Jr. for the sequel of his major motion picture, his big screen debut, Sissy Boy Slap Party. Look, was it Sissy Boy Slap Party or Sissy Boy Slap Fight?
Slap Fight. And someone just
Slap
recently
Fight.
sent over some, I don't know if it's new or old, but it was a interview excerpt with John Waters where he cited that movie as being one of his favorite movies.
Yes, Kenny has a future in cinema. Probably mopping the floor of it, but nevertheless.
The next Divine. He'll be eating shit on the street.
Well, he's fed us enough of it. But anyway. So, and by the way, Zack Sabre Jr. also has childbearing hips. That's a tribute to Dennis Condrey. He would say, that boy's got childbearing hips. It's just, so finally, Kenny just gave him the one-winged fairy and beat him 1, 2, 3. They went almost 30 minutes. Brian, did they not? Did they not?
Oh, I don't have the times. I'll look up the times. I don't think it went that long. Did it?
They had to go 25 or I'll kiss your ass on Broadway. And with the entrances and the pageantry, that was a half hour of my life to just watch these two. Why were they mad? What was the big fucking grudge?
Oh,
who needed to get even with who?
26 minutes, 30 seconds.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize, because I told you the other day, I went down to the gym to watch that match. I guess because it took me a few minutes to go downstairs, I didn't realize how long the match went.
Jesus Christ, I could have gone downstairs to the Empire State Building by the time this match was over with.
And by the way, for the record, the opening match, 3-way tag match, 17 minutes, 50 seconds.
Of course it was. So anyway, so that's what I thought about the slap fight. All righty, you liked Moxley and Bandito. Tell me why that you liked watching them for 20 minutes. Where did you catch who busted Moxley open hard way at his eye? The other one I think was on purpose. Bandito was purposefully bloody, but I think Moxley.
Was it Moxley's blood or was it Bandito's blood on Moxley?
Moxley had his eye was dinged by something. And that's why these guys, they're constantly busting each other open. The fuck? But anyway, tell me what you liked about it, because I invoked the Moxley rule to get ahead of the game here. I just know that it's another babyface that can't do shit because the heel ends up choking him out.
Well, that's part of the problem. You kind of know how it's going to end and exactly what's going to happen at different points. I called it in the preview. I said he's going to trade spots with him at the wrong time. I said that random points, Moxley will do something and just start wandering around the ring for no reason, just letting his opponent lay there while he talks to himself and walks around. And there was all that. But for whatever reason, and I think a large part of it, and this happened last time with AEW in New York,
was the weed
the fans.
That you had?
It was the fact that the fans were so into it, the fact that it was such a hot crowd, it elevated the match a little bit. And I've seen plenty of shitty Moxley matches, and I've called him out as being the worst in the world. But I didn't think this was that bad. Maybe a lot of that's a testament to Bandito. Now, I hate the finish, because you see it's coming, and everything that Bubba Ray Dudley said that was correct about Moxley, you see in that moment where he's concocted this thing for him where he's the baddest Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, whatever it is, he has to do the chokeout finish every time, even when it doesn't seem like it works or helps anything.
Even when it doesn't help anything, or it'd be nice if it just was something different, or it would be more exciting, or we'll just lay there stationary for a while again, and the heel is the toughest guy ever. And by the way, again, let's go back to, I know there's a meme on the interwebs for the worst person you know just made a good point. But in Bubba Ray's case, they just hate him so bad. Some of them can't see it, but yes, both these things can be true. Bubba can be an asshole or whatever the fuck, but he was dead on. And it's helped nothing. It's made no sense. There was never any payoff to them trying to take over the company, and never did really try to take over the company, and then quit trying to take over the company, and then were proud of the company, and then suddenly a guy came back from injury that they needed to be mad at, so they became heels again. But then the fucking guy is a goddamn, he's a stooge for the. It never ends and it never stops, and it never explains itself. Am I exaggerating?
No, you're not. And you have to wonder how much more tolerable Jon Moxley could be if it was someone else with a brain booking him and him acquiescing to someone else's booking ideas, as opposed to, I dreamt this up, Rocky 3, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to walk around and talk to myself because I'm bad. You know, whatever the fuck goes on in his fucking pea brain. But yeah, I mean, the problem, like what you said before, everyone, it's almost universal. Everyone thinks Bubba Ray or Bully Ray or Buddy Ray, he should be. Everyone thinks he's a douchebag. Everyone. I've never met anyone around wrestling who didn't think he was a douchebag. But he was also.
But see, you got to admire a guy can make a reputation.
But he's also right about Moxley. But again, he's also just saying the things we said. Maybe he just heard us say it. It was repeating it. Who knows? But
I like it. Uncle Dave thought, well, he's just trying to shoot an angle for a match. I don't think Bubba wants to fucking work with Jon Moxley. I think he's just, he's expressing an opinion in which he probably does 10 times a day on his various outlets. But this would just hit a nerve with Dave because it was about the home team. Anyway.
And maybe that'll work on an indie show. But I think the AEW fans would reject that categorically if all of a sudden Bubba Ray Dudley was on that show cutting promos. They would not want that, so.
Well, yes, and actually, boy howdy, Bubba running his fucking mouth is probably, besides me, the only guy in the business that could actually get real heat over there, but it would offend all the boys, so they probably wouldn't do that either.
I don't know. Again,
they would reject it, yes, but they should work it like, look, we're going to put Bubba on 5 minutes on TV every week for like a month. And at the end of the month, we're going to say, if you buy the pay-per-view, he won't be on it.
I don't know if there would be anyone there at the end of that month. I think you'd run a lot of people.
All right, maybe 2 weeks. And then just say, okay, if you buy the pay-per-view, we'll fire him. That would be a record-breaking pay-per-view. All right. Speaking of a record-breaking what is the record for a length of a wrestling pay-per-view event? Certainly, this has to be close.
I would think AEW must have the record, but I don't know where this.
4 hours and 54 minutes plus the pre-show, if you want to count that. We're let's say 6 hours. So, the next match, IWGP Global Title. And by the way, the was the first match for any kind of fucking Fakakta belt. The triple threat with
the triple threat match was not for any belt. Omega Sabre was not for any belt. Moxley Bandito was for the Continental Championship, although Bandito, I think, is the Ring of Honor World Champion.
Yes.
And then this was for the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. AKA,
well, now we're deep enough.
AKA the bathroom break match.
Well, we're deep enough in the card that that they can start now with the Night of Champions type of, because here we go. Are Pac and Shota Umino mad at each other? I mean, is this just a match for a championship, or do they have some kind of long-standing personal animosity?
I think there was some kind of history maybe with Shota Umino and Moxley, but I don't
I'm
know.
just
I didn't
wondering
watch
because they
this.
rang the bell and they immediately went to the floor. It's like, what the ding ding, fuck you, motherfucker, boom, and they're down and they're again fucking rattling each other off of shit on the goddamn floor. Is this a grudge match? Is it no disqualification, no count out, or it's just there you go? And the crowd was like, even the good crowd. I was, yeah. So I'm like you. I fast forwarded 15 minutes and they were still going. And about 17 or 18 minutes in, Shota, who it is at, gave Pac 2 finishes and beat him 1, 2, 3. So again, why? I know you've got to pacify the Japanese promotion that you're working with, but why do you bring somebody that Shota Umino been on more than a handful of their television programs in the past 5 years? I don't recall making fun of his name very often.
I don't think he's been on too often, if at all.
Okay, so you've flown this guy all the way over here for another fucking title match on a card where everybody in your company has a fucking belt, and you just I'll just beat Pac. And you give them 20 minutes on a fucking 5-hour show. Save the goddamn money on the plane ticket. Would they have set the seats on fire if Shota Umino was not on the card?
No.
That's what I asked Kerry Silken one time when I found out how many fucking people his previous booking administration had been having him pay for. So anyway, boom, there you go. So the guy beat their guy. And you didn't watch that either, so you don't have any thoughts. Or do you have thoughts on the guy spending the money on the plane ticket?
I didn't care one way or another about this match. I couldn't possibly care any less. I don't care about any one of the Death Riders. Moxley I'll at least pay attention to because he's a main eventer over there. The rest of them are either job guys or irrelevance. And I just don't give a shit. And Umino, I have no investment in whatsoever. Again, I think New Japan has turned the complete shit. I remember what it used to be like. So I didn't care about this match. And, I watched the matches before this. And, I mean, you look at the times, everything went a while. This was my break match.
But here's the thing also is Pac has positives. You could produce Pac and you could push Pac. A pushed and produced Pac would be profitable. But these pussies are too fucking puny in the I can't think of any more goddamn alliteration. If they just hadn't stuck him and mired him in this fucking group and he was here and he was gone at the start and he's been there from the start and he's still like, what the fuck? But he has positives. He's in shape, et cetera, et cetera. But nevertheless, moving on.
He's got a lot of positives. He has a working work visa. That's just positive.
Well, you could have done something. Now he's, just one of the folks in the pond. But you liked another match you cited, and it was up next and for the AEW Women's title. Our friend Thekla taking on the Starlight Kid, and I've told you the past couple of weeks I've seen a couple of Thekla promos, and I liked them. She's got some fucking personality. She can talk. She has some attitude, and I also had mentioned. When you told me that we did the review there, she's going to wrestle the Starlight Kid. I'd seen the Starlight Kid's name written down, but I did not. It sounded like a guy. It sounded like one of the Golden Age DC Comics superhero sidekicks and the Starlight Kid with Atom Man or whatever the fuck, right? Oh, Starlight Kid's a woman. Well, I'm intrigued now by this name. And they play the music, and here she comes, and Jesus H. Christ on a cracker. It's another outlaw Japanese girl in a silly fucking costume, wearing a mask on top of a mask as a tribute to the mask that the fucking Tiger Mask wore when Tiger Mask wore masks. And how much fucks could a motherfucker give if I could give a fuck?
Did you see there was a fan sitting ringside wearing a Tiger mask?
I thought that actually somebody just brought their pet. I didn't really know. But again, and the announcer said she's 24 years of age and more than 10 years as a pro. Do they realize how ridiculous that sounds when this girl is, she maybe said that she's 24, she's 4 foot fucking 11. And they're saying that this tiny young girl was a professional wrestler when she was 14 years old. My God, why don't we open up signing up for wrestling licenses with all the athletic commissions for people in the goddamn rest homes and the Alzheimer's care facilities and the quadriplegics while we're at it? What in the world?
They did say she's 4'11" and Tekla's 5'1". So it's kind of crazy.
Jesus Christ, I was thinking I was exaggerating when I said 4'11".
I think they actually said that, yeah.
So, and again, not only did they go somewhere around 20 minutes, but I obviously, once I saw that, okay, here we go. I fast forwarded, but there's no on screen fast forwarding. So I have to stop, see what's happening. They're fighting on the floor and doing spots with chairs. And Thekla's threatening the Japanese promoter or promoter's emissary in the front row.
Who must be a complete pussy. What the hell was that? Did you see?
Yeah, seriously? What? God damn it.
At one point, she went and like hit him and he like fell to the ground there. Like she was barely touching him, but he's like on the ground selling it. And you look at the people next to him like laughing at him. Like, what is going on here? Who is that fucking guy?
So anyway, it was over in, as I said, quite a while. I don't know if you have a time on this, but I swear it's close to 20 minutes.
18:45.
Boom. And Thekla won. Your closing thoughts.
We'll talk about it at the end too, the match times. Because this is, I think, even for AEW fans who have lives or jobs or things to wake up to, it's a Sunday night. It's becoming a problem. Every match doesn't have to go 18 minutes. And the shortest match on the show, not counting pre-show, where they try to jam everything into an hour, the shortest match is the Young Bucks match, which is 17 minutes, 50 seconds. Everything else is longer than that. Every match is just about 20 minutes, if not exceeding that. That's not good. Even if you love everything, that's not the way it's supposed to be. That's not good.
They're in California, yes. They're on the Pacific time, yes. But the majority still of their audience is probably in Central and Eastern. And you're talking on a Sunday night when they started at 8 o'clock. They're still going at 1 the next morning. The fuck? Seriously? Anyhow, let's talk about the AEW World Tag Team Championship match. With Edge and Christian challenging those young upstart puppies that look like they could almost beat Buddy and Alfred, the dogs, Chuck Connors and David Finlay. And they've done this too quickly. Brian, am I imagining things, or did these guys show up about 6 weeks ago and do a couple of angles with Edge and Christian, and they're booking them like that they assume that they're over because the people, as Bill Watts used to say in his memos with quotation marks around them, the people know that they're a big deal in Japan somehow. Are they a big deal in Japan? Are they just did they work in Japan?
They worked in Japan.
So am I imagining that we have not seen them before the past couple of months, and that they won a match on television yet? Have we seen that happen?
Oh, I don't know, but that's not a way to determine if someone's getting used well in AEW. If you lose matches in AEW, that means Tony has an interest in you. They showed up with Gabe Kidd originally, remember?
Where'd he go?
He's either hurt or it's a visa thing. Who knows? Or maybe a combination of the two.
He's kidding us.
But they had footage of him in Japan during one of the matches on the show here. But no, they just, they are doing this in between this and whatever Edge and Christian are doing at Wembley. This is another one of the matches I did not care for on this show, and I just am not a fan of Edge and Christian. I just don't. Well, but I don't enjoy them in anything.
Again, looking at this from a business perspective, as I'm trying to give them some benefit of the doubt of what the fuck are you doing here? You've got Edge and Christian are two of the mainstream names on your roster, and they're also veterans, and they can still go to a better extent than you would imagine given their age and various injuries. And they give them these two guys that, bless them, I don't know if they're going to be drawing money or be viewed as a top team anytime soon, but they had no chance to begin with because they just fucking showed up. They're much smaller. Most people ain't heard of them or don't give a shit to fucking delve that deep into the background. And if they have heard of them, they still don't look competitive against these two internationally known superstars just because they took camera cables and choked them out on the TV before the goddamn pay-per-view, and which also looked phony. But that's not, if you're going to bring these guys in, push them, give them some wins, let them beat some other people, let people start taking them credibly if they will at first. But this was the best wrestling match on the show. And nobody gave a shit because they've just seen goddamn chaos and 6 men flying around with no tags, and then fucking guys bleeding and fucking ripping masks and goddamn angles. And then they have these two legends come out and try to have a good competitive match with these two kids. And it wasn't a bad match, but nobody cares about the fucking heels. And after 2.5 hours already of blood and chaos and furniture, this was like a TV match where Edge and Christian had an okay match and win fairly easily to set up a match with a top team. But that's not what they're fucking doing. So instead, they had way too much trouble and went to too much length to beat these fucking kids. And then when the referee got smashed at the finish, Finlay got a shillelagh and hit Cage over the head with it and went to hit Edge, and the lights went out. And this is the one thing that got over the whole match. When the lights go out, and when the lights come on the stage, it's the Gun Boys, welcome back, and Juice, welcome back, and another guy, and I can't remember who it was, welcome here. And then they turn all the lights on, and Jay White, old light switch Jay White, is turning the lights on again. Brian, we hadn't seen him in about 3 or 4 years now, have we?
Oh, it's been less time than that. Maybe a year and a half.
Well, time drags when you're miserable. And that got a big pop. The people seeing him in the ring, and he hit his finish on Finlay. And then Edge speared him 1, 2, 3. So the finish got him. But, so that again, they had a wrestling match. And by that point, people counting the pre-show have seen 3.5 hours of anarchy and these two diminutive heels that they've barely fucking just started seeing against Edge and Christian. We know who they are, and blah. But then Jay White, yay!
Who looks smaller than ever.
Well, I don't imagine he's going to make any difference like anybody else in the overall scheme of things. Now that he's back, he'll settle right into being one of the boys pretty quickly, but they liked it this time.
Well, we look forward to seeing one of his promos where he tells you all about himself and then ends it with bang, 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 bang. It's been a while.
I wish they'd give us some more juice. I'd like to see some more juice.
Well, Jim, there was more pay-per-view, and we had a big Women's Owen Hart Cup final coming up next.
Well, I wonder what the cup size was, a C or a D? No, wait a minute. It's Mercedes, probably an A and a half. So you even enjoyed Mercedes Moon against Maya World, and welcome to it.
I did, and I'm looking at the time of this match, and I'm surprised I did. But I got into it. I thought Maya World was really pretty good here. This is the first time I've really paid attention to her. I think I've seen her in tag matches. I thought this was a good match.
You got to tell the truth here now. You were watching this event live, weren't you?
I did. I watched it on Sunday night, yes.
So you didn't have the option of saying, you know what, one touch of a finger on this button could relieve me from the burden, as Coco Ware once said, could lock 'em the Bergam on me of having to view this.
No, we all expected you hate women's wrestling. We all expected you to skip past it.
I don't hate women's wrestling. I hate the preponderance and the repetosity of women's wrestling and a lot of the people who do it, but I don't hate women's wrestling.
Did you like Tekla and Starlight Kid?
Well, no, I would have liked Starlight Kid if she'd have actually Starlight Adult would have been better. I didn't want to watch a goddamn 14-year-old child that was 4 feet 11.
She's not 14
and can't ride half the rides at fucking.
The ride. We can't go.
She's been a pro for 14 years, and she started when she was 10. I'm sorry,
10 years, and she was 14, obviously through the Kenny Omega.
Okay, well, so if I'd have watched her when she was 14, would that have made you feel any better? Then I'd have felt
it has
creepy
nothing to do with
myself.
The match. We're talking about the actual.
Why do I want to watch? Why are you wanting me to watch this 14-year-old child?
Hold on one second. She's not 14. There were 2 women's matches on the WWE United Champions. Did you watch those matches?
What were they?
They were 2 women's matches on this pay-per-view. Did you watch on the other show? It was Liv Morgan versus Io Sky, and it was Jade versus Tiffany.
I invoked the Io rule.
Jade versus Tiffany.
And the Jade rule.
You don't have a Jade rule. You do not have a Jade rule. You can't just make up the rules.
You can't keep booking the people I have rules on.
Every match.
The point of how long was this match?
This match.
How long was it? No, now I don't even want to see Rhea and Charlotte. I'm saying I want to see Rhea. And is Bianca ever coming back, or is she just giving the finger to everybody?
Well, she's pregnant. Well, she can't be pregnant anymore. She probably had birth by now. Must have. She
had birth.
Gave birth.
Had birth. Gave birth.
She must have had birth by now. Jim, you had a question before about Mercedes Moné and Maya World.
14-year-old girl.
No, Maya World. You're throwing me all off. Maya World and Mercedes Moné, 24 minutes, 55 seconds.
Yeah, so fuck you.
But it's a big match. It's the finals of the tournament that were so big that Dr. Martha Hart said, I got something else to do. She wasn't there at all. She'd had to come all the way down to the south of the coast there. No, I'm not doing 25 minutes of this. And apparently at the end of Mercedes tried to do some kind of backstabber, and they fell in a heap, and she made Maya tap out. I thought it was good. I thought the finish sequence, whatever you want to say, was really good. And I will say I enjoyed that match a whole lot better than the next one. And it was relatively long, but everything on this show was long, and it wasn't as long as what would come next. I thought it was a good match, and I didn't expect you to watch it, but I give it my thumbs up, sign of approval.
You get, well, see, that's what I was going to say. You enjoyed this more than the next match, but that's like having somebody hit you on your thumb with a hammer versus hit you over the head with a hammer. Well, I'll just hit the thumb, just hit the fucking thumb. Oh, goddamn, but it could be worse.
Well, Jim, it's time for this show to hit a wall. Let's talk about the Death's Door match.
Okay, there's 2 more left, ladies and gentlemen. And bearing in mind that it's now nearly 4.5 hours into, plus the pre-show, so 5.5 hours into, no, 3.5 hours. Yes, I'm trying to, I can't do math with numbers this big. The pay-per-view is fucking 5 hours long. We've seen 3.5 hours of pay-per-view and an hour of pre-show, and we've still got 2 matches and 1 hour and a half to go. And how, may you ask, are they going to stretch that out? Well, the co-main event with the 12-man cage match that we had been inflicted upon us suddenly out of nowhere, that made no sense with all of these people involved, 3 weeks ago. And then they had the goddamn match on TV, just not in a cage, and put a stipulation on it that ended up not being used, so it never played a part. They built a cool cage. Brian, did you like the cage? The cage is round.
I've never seen a cage like that.
Start with a compliment sandwich.
I had never seen a cage like that before. I thought it looked pretty cool. It was pretty imposing. It circled around ringside in a way that I think would have made it easier to enjoy the match if you were a fan there than a regular cage.
Yes.
I thought it looked good. I thought it looked really good.
Yes. So, see, we're positive about that. So they built a shiny new building and then they poured a truckload of trash into it. So the match, the teams are Mark Briscoe, Roderick Strong, Pockets, Kyle O'Reilly, Take a Shit, and Darby Allin against Jake Doyle, Kevin Knight, Kyle Felcher, Oh Shitty, Andrade, and MJF. So it's like the second coming of Dusty and the babyface superpowers versus the 4 horsemen. Everybody's integrally. What is the word I'm searching for? It's integral, integrally, interconnected. And it was a mishmash that they came up with for whatever reason they came up with it. And now they're in this nice, pretty new cage. The heel team came out wearing white T-shirts so that at least we could keep track, because again, on the long shots and for quite a while, they couldn't bring themselves to fight in the ring. Even though they've got this cage over everything, they're still all on the floor. So it was hard to tell kind of sometimes who was on whose side instantly. Roddy set it up, what's going to happen later on, by hitting everybody with a huge duffel bag that he pulled out from under the ring. And then they went straight into comedy. Kyle O'Reilly pulls a Nintendo video game gimmick out of a backpack and hits people with it, and they clothesline somebody with the remote control cord. And this is supposed to be this death's door, this dangerous, we're going to settle these grudges, and goddamn, everybody's mad. And they bring like comedy props from Spencer's Gifts. And Tony Schiavone is, this is great. And he's chuckling. I guess he's chuckling because he's bilked a billionaire into letting him sit there and coast through a goddamn job. And then they poured the thumbtacks out on the mat. So now the whole ring is trashed. You can't take bumps except for the idiots that want to. Kyle's already bleeding. Briscoe gets slammed off the top rope onto the tacks. Darby Allin tries to use his magical skateboard, but gets backdropped onto the tacks. They're really hurting themselves, but they still insist on making it both fake and silly at the same time. Brian, explain that to me.
I can't explain that. I can't explain. I hated this match. Let me just throw in right here. I hated this match with a passion. This match and the final match were examples of every excess that is wrong in wrestling, specifically independent wrestling. I think the people in it will argue, well, the fans loved it. Well, the fans would have loved it if you didn't do as much, if you didn't do as many stupid things. And there were the backpacks, everyone having their backpacks with their thing.
If you're going to bring weapons, why bring silly weapons? Like a silly indie level rec center, half of these people are our personal friends in the audience, silly things that they learned in that environment when they had no fucking proper goddamn instruction or oversight. But now they're supposed to, because this is a fucking company that spends a lot of fucking money. Notice I didn't say makes a lot of money, but it spends a lot of money. And that the announcers are worthless, laughing at everything. Can you imagine if they'd have laughed at the War Games? Tony Schiavone, if Tony Schiavone had laughed at the War Games, Dusty Rhodes would have fucking put the goddamn Weaver lock on his ass. And then MJF swept the tax out and became a heel because he got a big broom and cleared the ring so they could actually work in it again. And then Pockets pulled out a bag with a note from Willow. Like, oh, she's my crush. You know, after school, we're going to get together and sit under the pawpaw tree. What the fuck is this fucking childish nonsense? And these fucking lunatics are, many of them are in their 30s and 40s with their fucking minute little goddamn amoeba brains and their fucking stunted emotional development, their lack of understanding of human psychology. Was I talking about something? Oh, yeah. So he's got a bag and it's full of oranges. And they hold Kyle who's bleeding and squeeze the oranges on his head, these fucking children. What is this? It's jackass. It's a jackass generation. Except they wouldn't know what to do with a real jackass. I'm just talking about the television show. And then take a shit, and Okada traded fake forearms in the middle of all this shit. And I think Take was trying. Okada may be the fakest looking shit I've ever seen. He would have been fired in any territory in the history of the business for doing shit that was that light, lazy, and see-through as the shit that he gets away with here. Am I lying to you, Brian? Did you see the level of shortcuts and phony-looking pussy-ass light shit that you see from Okada? Did you see from anybody in the territory days that was allowed to fucking stay there and do it again?
Maybe not, but they're not as smart as Okada. He figured it out. Who's figured out the business better than Okada?
Well, I spent 5 minutes in the floor cuddling with the puppies while there was some chairs and shit being used. And then they opened up the big duffel bag and there was Leo Rush in his new gimmick. And I've seen this briefly a couple of times, but we haven't had the occasion to talk about it. But what the fuck is this? What is happening? When did this happen? Did they explain what happened to him, or did he just show up this way one day?
He just showed up like this one day, I think. It's been several months. We've seen him a few times make appearances. This was certainly the most high-profile appearance he's had in a AEW main event, and I can't explain the whats or the whys. The defenders will say, well, the AEW fans really popped and really liked it, or what's wrong with Leo Rush playing a weird demon gimmick? And to that, I would say, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but everything else.
I'm going to put some of it over here. But at the same time, when you've had this guy on your program, like recently, shouldn't they have said, oh my God, he got a head injury. Oh shit, look at me, who's seen Leo lately? Oh shit, Leo's back. He's changed something. But also, as far as just introducing another element of chaos and goofiness into this chaotic, goofy match, I don't know that he needed to be here, but I like the fucking, he's a little gremlin or a goblin or what. I like the way he moves. I like the way he commits to it. I like the fucking facial thing. If you gave him again, a manager, and that way somebody could talk for him and create issues for him, personal things. And this is a guy, if he's the only tiny, minute guy that you're using it on a top level, it would beat anybody, but it would stand out when he did it. And that is the equalizer for his size, is that he's this weird fucking half man, half beast, psycho, whatever the fuck you come up with to explain why he's like that. I like that. But here it's just fucking silly. And they take the bag out. Leo Rush comes out of the bag in the gimmick. He beats up the entire heel team while all the other baby faces had disappeared. And then they stopped him and put him back in the bag and wrapped a chain around it and put it back under the ring. Then Kyle O'Reilly was bleeding. And there was more table and chairs. And that's why I was jotting down, who wants to do this anymore if this is goddamn what you have to do? And then they gave Kyle the fucking blue thunder bomb off the apron through the table on the floor. And, well, Take's ass went through the table. Kyle O'Reilly's head, to me, looked like that it was off the table and the floor was there to break its fall. So I don't, maybe he's got brain damage. He might come back like Leo Rush. Or you might, if you have brain damage, you might come back to another one of these goddamn shows. Who could want to see anymore? Knight and Darby go to the top of the cage, the circular cage. They're on the little lighting truss kind of toppy thingy. And apparently Kevin Knight gets a bag that Darby had left up there and opened it, and pyro went off because, well, pyro went off and it knocked Kevin Knight off the top of the cage through 4 tables stacked up on top of each other on the floor. And the reason, allegedly, is because Darby had booby-trapped the bag. So now we're leaving IEDs in the goddamn wrestling match. Brian, is that not what they said?
It was indeed a booby trap from Darby Allin.
It was indeed a booby statement.
What a smart move, leaving that there, knowing someone would climb up to that bag in the middle of the match and go for it.
They couldn't, you know what? At this point, because, I mean, we've lost all credibility and reason and logic and sanity to begin with, so I was willing to give them, my God, Kevin Knight kicked a piece of the pyro and it blew him up. I was willing to give him that, but no, Darby planted a booby-trapped bag. That he obviously learned that skill when he climbed Mount Everest with the Sherpas. So then Kevin Knight's dead on the floor. But Darby didn't take the bump, so he coffin dropped onto 8 guys on the floor off the top of the cage. I wrote here, I would be embarrassed to tell anybody I was in the wrestling business and have them see this. And then MJF and Andre are arguing because MJF is telling him to hold Mark Briscoe and he don't want to do it. But finally he does do it, and MJF puts the ring on and runs, and Briscoe moves, and instead of MJF punching Andre spun around and knocked MJF out with one of those spinning elbows that now everybody's got to do. Well, now Doyle got mad at Andre, and Andre kicked Doyle in the balls. And then Andre took off his fucking one shirt and revealed a shirt that said, "Fuck Don and fuck MJF." And even one of the announcers even said they're going to have fun putting this in the package on fucking Wednesday night. It's the finish of their goddamn cage match. And then Briscoe gave the J Driller to Jake Doyle, and it was over. And I just summed up the fakest, silliest, stupidest, most childish, self-indulgent, distasteful nonsense I've ever seen. And everybody involved looks like a moron. Did I cover it, Brian, or do you have any suggestions of what I've left out?
I mean, this was just a complete shit show. Maybe you were too nice in reviewing that thing. Yeah, everyone involved is an idiot. We've spent a lot of time defending MJF on the show. At this point, it seems like he's involved or in the middle of every stupid thing happening in this company. Whether he sweeps up the tax or not, that's beyond the point. He's in the middle of it. This went 30 minutes, 50 seconds. It was almost like a parody of indie wrestling. As bad as the worst of indie wrestling can be and has been over the last 20 years, the worst of it. It was like they were making a parody of that. And that's what it was. They got the ironic pops from the fans, because those are the fans that love this shit. So they're into all the stupidity. But if I'm going to be in a fight, I ain't bringing a fucking Nintendo. So if you, like you said before, if someone did, what is the philosophy behind that? Is it, they brought a weapon so they can get a laugh from the crowd? Or is it, this guy's a moron who really thinks this is going to be an appropriate weapon to use?
Yeah. You need one or the other of those things has to be true.
You mentioned it briefly, and this wasn't the only time, but I'll say it here like I do all the time. Tony Schiavone needs to go. Even if Tony Khan wants a mouthpiece at the commentary table, Tony Schiavone has no credibility, puts out no effort. Very often, he'll just tell you how great things are or how happy he is to be there or how this is the best thing ever. And then when it's a physical moment, when it's something that could cause an injury, when it's something that should have impact, he laughs. He literally laughs and tells you, oh God, this is great. I'm loving this. Nobody cares what you love, you frumpy fucking douchebag. Get off commentary. I should be saying it to Tony Khan. Tony, he's killing your broadcast he has for years. Get him off commentary. He sucks. He sucks.
He's popped his testicles with pliers. It's so fun. Oh, I love AEW.
Worthless. I know everyone wants a stooge, and he does good stooge work, but get rid of Schiavone already. Off air. Fuck. He's laughing. They're hitting each other with weapons, and he laughs about it. I wish Dusty Rhodes was here to your earlier example. You yank him off commentary. Can you imagine
that? I mean, David Crockett could get away with it, because what are you going to do? But David Crockett only laughed when the fucking heel was being beaten and pummeled, because he wanted to make sure that everybody knew that he was a big baby face and loved the rock and roll and Dusty and Magnum. And that was his motivation for laughing, is look at him, whip him like a dog. Otherwise, you didn't fucking laugh at shit. And it wasn't really shit most of the time you should be laughing at.
Well, Schiavone likes to laugh at all this stuff. Because again, the joke's on us. He's been overpaid and overused because Tony Khan likes what Tony Schiavone brings to him. And he has been, a problem, I think, in that company, that people there like him, but they don't realize the mediocrity. When you have mediocrity around, it's contagious. I've always said that. Like when it comes to creative arts, when you have people that are mediocre, who do mediocre work around, it brings everything else down. You got to get rid of that right away. But that was the Death's Door cage match.
The problem is, I'm afraid mediocre right now might be something that they all aspire to at this point. So here's what happened now. Brian, you had to remind, when that cage match was over, and I was like, what the fuck? Thank God. I forgot there was another match. I had turned the thing off and gone back to regular television from the streaming or whatever the fuck. And I talked to you on the phone, and you said, what did you think about those last two matches? And you made me realize, oh shit, there was another one. Swerve and Osprey. I had thought, What else can they fucking do? And certainly the 12-man cage match, I would have thought would have been the end of it. But no. So I had to go back and watch another half-hour fucking match. And so I went back, and obviously this is the big one to determine who gets the title match at Wembley Stadium. So as we said, Osprey better fucking win this. And again, both of these guys are very athletic, and it's to their detriment because they will do way too much and try to look like a video game. And I don't know that any move that they have after this match will have the same impact for people because they've seen each of Swerve has the finish, what is it, the house call. He's not a doctor. He just plays one on television. Or he jumps up, he kicks a guy in the side of the fucking head. And that oftentimes looks a little stiff. So, okay, good. There's your fucking move. He kicked Osprey 6-8 times in this match. Didn't work. And Osprey's fucking fancy Dan shit that his styles clashes. And is there any move that either one of these guys had that they didn't just do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or more times? The elbow, the hidden blade, it wasn't hidden. It was on full display in this whole match. Swerve did his own, but it didn't work either. Neither did Osprey's. Nothing worked. This is the epitome of an indie style match at a high level with a big budget and two very athletic guys. It fucking goes forever. It never ends. When people talk about telling a story in a wrestling match, this ain't it. The story was that none of their shit could possibly work and beat the other guy, which may sound good until they cross into the territory of none of this shit can possibly be real because a human being couldn't get back up. And now they're just being a video game for these fucking people who have led sheltered lives that like this type of thing. That's why AEW is in a dome of its own that it will not outgrow. They ignore something right after they've done it. They work the back, the neck, the legs, the arms. It's fine as soon as they're ready to do another move. Some of the stuff is great. It's exciting. It's impactful. There's great spot payoffs. Not saying don't do any of it. You don't do all of it. They do every kind of deal possible. They're on a subtext, they're fucking exposing the turnbuckle. And they're doing this other little wrestling trope. Osprey gets an armbar on Swerve on the floor, and Swerve is tapping. He taps him out on the floor 10 minutes in, but it doesn't count because it's on the floor. One rule they adhere to. But why have your fucking guy tap out on it? And then Swerve powerbombed Osprey on the apron on his fucking head. The guy just had neck surgery. And then I talked about where they exposed that they didn't pull the turnbuckle pad off of the turnbuckle in the ring where the ropes go round. They pulled the little pleather sleeve that wraps around the part of the turnbuckle that goes from the ropes to the post and exposed that metal, and then gave Brian, is everybody familiar when I use the term boomerang, the thing where you hook the guy's legs and you fall backwards and it stands him up, right?
Right.
Old Swerve boomeranged Osprey underneath it. The camera was right there. I remarked that, I think they should have taken that one out of the equation, that move, because you could clearly see that Osprey had his forearm in between the turnbuckle and his neck, right? which is what the boomerang in that fashion is supposed to impact. Whether you boomerang the guy's neck under the bottom rope or under the turnbuckle or whatever. Osprey came up a couple minutes later, gushing blood from his head. His head never came in contact. His head never came. How did they think that that would look like a juice shot to bleed from the head when he boomeranged him neck first up under it? You could tell that didn't hit. Help me.
I can't tell you or explain to you what they were thinking or how they put the match together.
I can't tell you why. No, I can't. So now Osprey's bleeding. And Swerve just beat him up in various ways. And Osprey's pouring blood. And then suddenly he grabbed Swerve and he started backflipping with it. Oh, he did that Spanish fly to him. So he'd been beaten with an inch of his life and blood loss, and he Spanish flied him. And then he made a comeback and hit Styles Clash, got a 2 count. And then he came running with his elbow, and Swerve just stood up there and no-sold it. Didn't even take a bump, and leveled Osprey with his own elbow move. And they said, oh, Osprey's blood loss must have weakened him. It weakened him so bad that he couldn't do that Styles Clash 10 seconds ago, or the fucking backflip with a human being 10 seconds before that. And then Osprey tried to superplex, and they got gingerly balanced up on the fucking turnbuckle, but then Swerve was going to powerbomb him, but Osprey turned it into a Hurricane Rana and a spin kick 2 count. And then Swerve picked him up and gave him the fucking Deadeye gimmick 2 count. And then Osprey gave Swerve the big swing into the stairs on the floor, and now Swerve was gushing blood. So Osprey proceeded to run his head into the metal stairs like about 6 times in a row. It would have been great if they could have special effects where he held his head up and his eyeballs had popped out like a cover of Weird Tales magazine in 1964, and they're being held by cords as they rattled around on his cheek with blood spurting from all of his orifices. And then Osprey set the stairs up so they could do a stunt. By the way, they'd been on the floor for minutes now. And this was the tournament final. This was not no DQ, no count out, anything goes. They just didn't want to use the ring. And boom, 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 Swerve came off the stairs with his kick to Osprey's head. And Osprey, now they got back up on the stairs. And suddenly, after he's taken Swerve's kick, seconds before, on the floor, Osprey can Styles Clash Swerve off the stairs onto the desk. And we're still almost only 20 minutes in. And then they laid there till they could have been counted out for 6 times with nobody moving. And then finally, Osprey has gotten in and Swerve crawled in to beat the count, and Osprey got a cutter on him, 2 count. Osprey with 2 super kicks, make it 3. A forearm, another forearm, a driving elbow. And then the referee started a 10 count on Swerve. Can he get up at the kid? Cover him, you British dipshit. You fucking blood pudding headed fucking moron. Just cover him. He's only have to be down for 3 instead of 10. What's the matter with you fucking people? Goddamn. God, she fucking genius. So Swerve beat the 10 count. Might not have been able to kick out at 3, but he beat the 10 count. And Osprey hit him with his fucking finish elbow again and got a 2 count. And then they did a bunch of stuff that nobody sold. They were just popping up and hitting the other guy, and then both would lay there forever. And then they stood up and they stared at each other dramatically. with evil intent in their eyes. As Big Bad John said one time, face to face, they faced each other, stuck out their bellies and run at each other. And when the crash came and the dust fell, Tiny Frazier, the big man, was killed. Actually, that's what Big Bad John did. But what they did was stand there and each take their gloves off, because that's part of the dramatic scene in this goddamn martial arts movie they're reenacting from the Golden Harvest catalog or something. And then they charged at each other like they were going to lock up in this big fight, and Swerve just ran right into Osprey's elbow. Boom! Took a heck of a bump for it. And then Osprey jerked him up immediately and picked him up in the air and gave him some kind of fucking flippy slam where he flipped him in the air twice. Boom! Cover, 1, 2, kick out. Okay. And they got back up going full speed. There's nothing wrong. Swerve just kicked him in the balls and then hit him with the vertebraker. Hit a guy with a vertebraker and just had his vertebrates unbroken. 2 count. Then Swerve hit Osprey's elbow again to Osprey and hit him with the one-winged fairy. 2 count. And then here came Moxley and the Boar Horseman to ringside. And we're past 30 minutes in this fucking thing. And Osprey's on his knees. And Swerve runs and does another one of his kicks to the head. And Osprey didn't sell it. Because suddenly the top heel, again, the moral inspiration of the top babyface in the company is the fucking lunatic top heel that chokes everybody out and pours Drano down their throat. Because now there's these guys cheering him on. He no-sold the fucking head kick finish of Swerve, fires up, hulks up, whatever, hits Swerve with an elbow, then goes to the apron and does a buckshot lariat style elbow hidden blade. Cover, 2 count. And then he did a better version of Moxley's double arm DDT that just went straight down head first. And then he didn't bother to cover the guy, picked Swerve up, and he gave him another version of Moxley's double arm DDT where he picks him all the way up in the air and drops him. And both of these look much better than Moxley has ever done. And then he picked him up and gave him the Tiger Driver. And he covered him, and guess what they did? My God, glory, hallelujah. Free at last, free at last. They counted to fucking 3. Are you still there?
I am still here. I was giving you a chance to rip up your notes. That was one of the most excessive, over-the-top things I've ever seen. It left me hating both guys. They could have ended it much earlier and everyone there would have been happy. But they just wanted more. And I was so pissed. I wanted to go to sleep so fucking badly. And I wasn't going to return to this the next day. So I had to watch it live. And it wouldn't end. It just wouldn't end. And I know there's a lot of people online, and again, they're not you. You're the expert. They're like me. They're just the fans. And they were livid over the match. And you see a lot of fans just saying, why would they be kicking out at 1 after all of that? I thought that match was one of the worst things I've ever seen. I'm sure Dave Meltzer will give it 6.5 stars.
Oh, easily.
That'll be my bet. 6.5 stars. That's my bet. But that was one of the worst, unnecessary, never-ending, I'm left thinking both guys are complete fucking idiots matches I've ever seen. But that's my thoughts. What did you think?
Well, the thing is, they need to at least get some different material. How about next time have somebody give another guy a colonoscopy in the middle of the ring? Because what else are you going to do to somebody? They've blown them up with IEDs. And it's just, they're living in fantasy land that it's their fantasies. that so they get, as you said, they get the crowd that wants to laugh at this shit, and they cripple themselves to do this shit because they are not smart to the business of what the business is supposed to be. And that's why they're kind of where they're going to be until their rights deal comes up, because you can't expand the audience for people to want to laugh at fake people, fake fight. That's what some of these people think that wrestling is, and even some of the people in it now think that's what it is. But it ain't. It ain't fake people, fake fighting. It's stars and emotions and issues and playing with people's fucking not only emotions, but crossing the lines to where you can invoke the plausible deniability and the fucking I'll lose myself in this, not just an endless car crash stunt show train wreck.
Well, you said endless, 35 minutes, 30 seconds.
There you go.
Event. And
all right.
I was dead tired.
That's my thoughts.
They had Alex Windsor come out and hug and kiss her man after he won the Owen Hart tournament.
I certainly was still not watching by that point.
Well, it was nice to see her. The last time we heard about her on the show was Will Ospreay saying that he fucked the shit out of her and left her covered in cum to fly to Dynamite. But that was the main event.
Fortunately, she was able to shower and get a fucking regular class ticket to come to see him.
Boy. I try, even the shows that I like stuff on, they hit me with so much shit. The last two matches, over an hour, 30 minutes and then 35 minutes, were two of the worst things I've ever seen in wrestling for very different reasons. And that was AEW Forbidden Door. Jim.
Yes.
I don't know how I'm going to transition to talking about our friends at Ultra Pouches. I like them. Sometimes when I'm editing, I'll put an Ultra Pouch or two. Never go for 3 for me personally, but I like to do 2 in my mouth, get that great taste. A little bit of a energy boost. But why don't we talk a little bit about our friends better than Forbidden Door at Ultra Pouches?
Well, boy, howdy, I'll tell you one thing. If you like 2, boy, 3 can even be better. It just depends on what their names are. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever woken up and immediately you're trying to go for the nicotine or the caffeine to give you a boost, make you feel like a human being, you've developed horrible habits. They're bad for you. You can get vasoconstriction from too much caffeine and nicotine. Your heart can race out of nowhere. You won't sleep. You'll be anxious. You'll be on edge. You don't need to do that stuff. That's why the people at Ultra Pouches are around, because they have nicotine-free, caffeine-free chemicals in them that just help you relax and focus and give you some energy. They give you some, you don't need to be anxious. You need to focus that energy into positive thoughts and actions, Brian. That's why you pop 1 or 2 of these in, and the first thing you want to do is you want to go out and you want to solve some kind of major crime. You want to go, you want to track down the bad guys.
I like to edit.
You're focusing all of that anxiety and that energy into a positive. Possibly you want to go out and you want to raise money for charity. I'd say, if you walking down the street, you find some shit laying around, gather it up, haul it away, and sell it for charity.
No.
And sometimes people leave their front doors open.
This has nothing to do with Ultra Pouches. Somehow it went from talking about
they make you do good because they make you do good because they use clinically proven nootropics. See, nootropics in there, or nootropics. See, I thought it was nootropics, but I think it's nootropics. But nevertheless, they have adaptogens also that adapt to the genes. You see, this is all scientific. No. But they deliver immediate focus and smooth energy that lasts 1 to 2 hours. They've got a cleaner, smoother energy boost than caffeine through the Infinity PX. They've got the L-theanine amino acid promoting calm energy and attentiveness. You got to stay attentive. They got the Alpha GPC. That's one of those nootropics that enhances your mental processing. Brian, you're aware of this, right?
I am aware of this, yes.
And they got the vitamin B6 and B12, which is twice as good as the B6. That's why I'm on the B12. It balances your energy and mood. So all of these things are better than the caffeine and the nicotine. The nicotine, obviously, it can lead to no good. And the caffeine, obviously, I've been hospitalized by caffeine in the past with my acid reflux problem caused by Jim Hurd and too much caffeine. But folks, enhanced memory, smooth energy, mood balance, calm and steady flow state focus. You can enhance all of these things. You can be just like me and Brian, where you're just zeroed in, you're focused on a specific thing, and you never lose track of yourself. I remember one time I was on a trip. I think it was it St. Louis or Kansas City? I forgot what I was saying, but nevertheless, folks, don't lose focus. They've got insanely good flavors like Cool Mint, Wintergreen, Tropical, Watermelon, and Blue Raz.
Yeah.
I think they might just be razzing us about that. But Ultra is the ultimate guilt-free pouch delivering instant focus and mental clarity without nicotine or caffeine, and new customers right now. You got to start somewhere, folks. You're only new once, so end your virginity with Ultra pouches by going to takeultra.com. Takeultra.com. Use the code JCE. You're going to get 15% off. That's right, 100% of the pouches for 85% of the price. Takeultra.com. 15% off with the code JCE. Tell them you heard about them here. And also, again, I believe I mentioned the hack you can use if you use these as a suppository, you'll develop X-ray vision.
No. That was a one-time joke in a one-time spot. That is not a hack.
See, you really got to be dedicated. You got to be dedicated to want to be able to see through things, though, because there would be side effects from that. But we don't need to go into the unpleasantness.
I think the listeners need to see through the comedy and fun and get to the facts. Ultra pouches, they can be there for you. Like I said, I've enjoyed using them while I edit.
Check it out, to talk about, they could be there. Well, what about if there is there?
Don't sleep.
Where is there?
Don't sleep on Ultra pouches. New customers 15% off with this great promo code. Jim, what's that link and promo code?
JCE at takeultra.com.
All right. Well, we shall return right after this short commercial timeout.
Yeah. Wah, 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 wah.
All right, I'm going to have to turn that off. We are here in the future. That was the time machine bringing us here to the present day.
It's slowing down. It's starting to slow down. I notice it takes longer to get us from place to place than it used to, or from time to time.
Well, I think when wrestling's a slog to get through, that sometimes happens. It affects the space junk in our way as we travel through time. Because obviously time travel means you go through space. I don't know how any of this works, to be quite honest with you. But Jim, speaking of space and time, WWE got back to the East Coast of the United States for an early start time, 6 p.m. start time. WWE Raw in the once for a moment maybe beautiful Atlantic City.
How do they get people there for a 6 o'clock bell time? Do they all take off work early, or what? They can just do anything they want now on a Monday. That play, again, the Boardwalk Arena, it's a giant airplane hangar type play. Did we ever find out when that building was built? What year that fine facility was opened? Because I'm surprised they did. They must have brought in their own generators. I'm surprised a modern television broadcast from that place wouldn't just fry every goddamn breaker box they've got in that thing, or have they gutted it and just redone the whole thing?
Yeah, almost 100 years old. It was built from 1926 to 1929.
Burt Parks probably spent more time in that building than anybody else alive. And you know what? Burt Parks is not alive anymore. So that proves my point. Anyway, Well, we got a lot of our questions answered, Brian, on this episode of Raw because we were questioning. Well, wait a minute, Oba, what champion is he going to challenge? Because how did Brock figure into this? And where the fuck is this guy going? And they answered all our questions. They just came out and said, we're just going to book the shit we want to book, regardless of what we fucking said before. And now Oba is not going to challenge for a title because he's going to fight Brock again. And Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, because they've been mad at each other for 14 years, have finally decided this is the time they're going to settle it. Is this confusing or is it just me?
Well, why don't we do them one at a time? It's not just you. With the Brock and Oba thing, and obviously you'll break it down, but I like them being involved and everything, but the way this was set up, even if you get past the idea of, okay, they just decided we'll book whatever we want and just get to where we wanted to go anyway. The way this was done just seemed lazy. I mean, maybe it's just me. There had to be a better way to set up this match at SummerSlam than what they did on this show.
Well, and so Oba comes out, and there's huge Oba chants and an overall reception. He's over. And he introduced himself as the 2026 King of the Ring, and he said, "Destiny is not finished with me yet. A choice has to be made." Because he gets his chance to pick what championship he wants to go for at SummerSlam, right? According to all of their publicity for the last number of months and years. But suddenly Brock's music plays. Oh, shit, he's back. And he comes out with Paul, and Paul has lost weight because his stomach is not that much bigger than Brock's chest. So I think he's getting skinnier. And Brock is smiling, and he even slapped a couple of hands on the way to the ring. And the more that this comes to me or unfolds before me, the more I'm thinking he wanted to quit when he took his boots and his shoes off, or whatever, the boots and shoes and gloves and a woman, whatever he took off. He wanted to quit. He was emotional about it. Brock never gets emotional. He can't really fake being emotional. And then they said, "What the fuck? Well, you're figured in. I'm done." No, you're not. So then they said he was retired, but he still wants to get even. So he got even. And now he's coming out happy, slapping hands like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care if I'm a heel or a baby face. I'm doing this because they want me to. And we're going to have Hell in a Cell in goddamn Minneapolis. And maybe then I can be done with them. That's what this looks like to me. And he even did the promo. Brock Lesnar did the promo instead of Heyman. Paul Heyman told me you've got a decision. Well, I don't watch the show, which was the best part about it. He said, I don't watch this shit. But Paul told me you called me a coward and a bitch, and you cut a great promo. Well, that's why I've got Mr. Heyman. But you know what they say, talk shit and get hit. And then he hauled off and kicked Oba in the balls. Ed picked him up and gave him an F5, which the people are cheering. They love this fucking guy, Oba, but another guy comes out and beats the shit out of him. They don't care because it's just stars and they know it's all bullshit. That's what it's come down to. And then they walk off and leave Oba laying there, but he gets back up and cuts a promo and says, I won't say it behind your back. I'll say it. Now I'm sounding like a goddamn Vito Scotti as a fucking vampire on Gilligan's Island. I'll say it in front of your face. You're still a bitch. Me and you, one-on-one at SummerSlam. What's it going to be? And Brock said, just, okay, I accept, but we'll do it in Hell in a Cell. Now they can book the stipulations. And does that mean Brock has to pay for the transport of the cage to Minneapolis? Has he got to pay the freight? So they just, okay, we'll just do this now instead. I think it's, as you maybe mentioned, lazy booking. But also, it's just they don't. Normally, this shit for the WWE is supposed to make sense. This has been all over the place, and I think they're making it up kind of as they go along. Do you agree with me about Brock? Is something fishy here?
I don't know what's going on. As soon as he started talking, I realized why he shouldn't talk. He doesn't have like a great voice.
That's the only crack in the fucking Knight of Armor suit that he ever had was that voice where he sounds. If he was on the other end of the phone, you'd think he was a CPA, right? But that's the only fucking.
And what is he mad about?
Drawback.
He heard Oba call him a bitch.
I don't know.
And he heard Oba call him this and that, but he beat Oba. It's done.
Yeah.
You beat him.
Yeah. I bet all the people he beat in the fucking UFC called him a bitch after the fact, but.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know if anyone was doing that, but it's a bad setup. It seems like a lazy setup. We knew that if they were going to do it, it had to be in Minnesota. It's Brock's hometown, home city, home state. That would
where
be
he's going to get beat.
that would be the place to have this big match. And then they had Oba win the King of the Ring, and like you said, it's a weird picture right now at the top of WWE creative, and Punk's not even back yet. It's about that.
I think, and here, I think Brock wants to quit, and they won't let him. Maybe after SummerSlam, maybe they'll let him out of his indentured servitude contract.
That's not the way Brock would do it. Brock would use this all as a renegotiation tactic.
Well, maybe that's what he did. All righty. Well, then there was one more segment of Raw that answered some of our questions after much going on in the middle of the program that we just didn't have time to tune in for. What about Roman Reigns? Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns. It's Roman Reigns, a backpack on my. It took close to 10 minutes for them to play the music and him get in the ring and them chant OTC and sing his name and everybody cheer for him, even though he's a prick to everybody that he comes in contact with. And he said, "Acknowledge me," and then Seth's music played and there was more singing. And I'm like, they had a face-off with a lot of singing. And as I said, by the time, and OTC, they chanted OTC. It was close to 10 minutes before we got anything done but that. And then Seth said, "Hello, my brother." And he starts giving us the history of the Shield. 14 years. It's time for me to collect. And Roman said, "You're the back of the line." But Seth says, "I own you. I hit you with a chair. I took your wise man. You've never beat me. I beat you here and there and everywhere." And then he put Roman over for how great he is, but he can't beat Seth. And then, Brian, was this inspired by the famous Oral Roberts promo where he said if he didn't raise like $50 million for his ministry, God was going to call him home? So basically you felt guilty as like, if he doesn't raise this money, if I don't give to him, I'm going to kill him. Where Seth actually said, "I'm going to be real. It may be your last chance to get even. And it may be our last. We're getting older. We created the greatest generation, but we're closer to the end than the beginning. So it may be our last chance to do this." And I'm, what the fuck? That's certainly one way of selling a fucking grudge match to the other guy that's got the grudge and the people. Well, fuck, we're both about over the hill. We might as well have it, get it over with.
And is that really the way they see themselves, the greatest generation of wrestlers?
Apparently, well, either that or the writers do. And I would probably be betting on, well, a little bit of both, but mostly the writers. And it was just so long. And then Roman said, "Little brother, It's been a long time since I heard you tell the truth, but you're right. I don't want to beat you. I need to beat you and to have my family see it. And at SummerSlam, I'll do it. I don't even think he had challenged him at SummerSlam yet. Roman just blurted out, well, fuck it then. We'll just do it at SummerSlam. They've got their own goddamn power now to just make any match. The promoters, the general managers, they're all useless. So there's that. And then we still don't know what they're going to do with it. Now the plans have been for Cody and Punk, but with Sammy as a red herring in the middle, see the pun there because of his hair. Are they going to just take the belt back away from him, or are they going to have Punk and Cody involved some way to see who gets Sammy or whatever the fuck? That
and what's
seems
Gunther
like
doing?
and poor Gunther. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Heyman still owes him a favor.
Well, they'll probably do that late at night with the drapes closed in private.
I believe Heyman still owes Chris Candido a favor. I think.
Boy, along with tens of thousands of dollars.
You know, I didn't like this. There are times where, despite how over he is, Roman is just so overly actory in his delivery, in his facial expressions while Rollins is talking. How many times are you going to do your little twitch? How many times are you going to do that? Every time he says something you don't like, you do your little twitch?
He twitches more than Gene Anderson.
I don't know. There may be a debate there. We'll have to consult the experts. But I didn't like that. Rollins, for a moment there, I was like, man, he's doing a good promo, and I'm pretty critical of his stuff. And then it turned, and it really had nothing to do with him or his voice or anything else. It was the material. It was how they were trying to set this up. It was the argument being made. Again, this is one of those things like Brock and Oba, a natural match. There's natural things in their history that make this a big match. Awful setup. Where were the GMs all night? Where were the security to keep any of these guys away from each other? Everyone.
Well, we didn't really have to worry about fucking Roman and Seth. They didn't touch each other.
Exactly. They stood face to face, brother to brother, I guess. And no one did anything, and I don't know. I'm sure the match will be just fine as long as it doesn't have long interludes of Roman Reigns talking to Seth Rollins in the middle of the match. But an uninspiring build to this pay-per-view. But there's time.
There's time. There's 2 nights. There'll be something else. What's Danhausen doing? That's what we want to know.
Put him in the main event. If it's really just all about maximizing your profits and maximizing how much money you make, Danhausen versus Sami Zayn, main event is SummerSlam. You will sell more merch that night than any other night in the year.
There you go.
Why not at this point? Well, that was WWE Raw. AKA, why not at this point? Jim, before we wrap things up, we've had a lot of modern wrestling talk, modern wrestling reviews. We will finish the final list of the top wrestlers in their 40s in 1984 next time on the show. But right now, why don't we wrap up with a quick edition, or at least a fun edition, of Guess the Program.
I am going to challenge myself, Brian, here. I'm going to win 2 out of 3 on this. We're going to see how good I can do here.
Should I give you easy ones?
No, I'm just saying I'm going to challenge myself. I got my pad here. I'm all set to jot these things down. I'm going to get 2 out of 3.
Okay, this one right here.
Yeah.
There's an opening match not in the program. It will be announced at ringside.
Okay. Wait a minute, my pen just died.
Oh, that's convenient. What are you trying to pull, Cornette?
Well, I haven't I've heard nothing yet. Hold on, let me see if this one works. All right, here we go. Opening match announced at ringside.
Tag team match, Jim. Dr. Jerry Graham, 260 out of Hollywood.
Good Lord.
And Bulldog Lawley, 230 out of Alabama, versus Jerry Miller, 220 out of Iowa, and Doug Atkins, 220, West Virginia. We have a 5-minute intermission. And then Jack Bentz, 235 Tampa, versus Sky High Kruger, 290 Germany.
Oh, good Lord.
There'll be a 10-minute intermission after that match. And the main event for a tag title I will not name, Don McIntyre and Ray Gunkel versus the Assassin #1 and the Assassin #2.
Okay. Boy, howdy. Thankfully, that main event has shown some clarity on the situation. Dr. Jerry Graham, of course, needs no introduction. Go to jimcornette.com and get behind the curtain. There's a chapter on Dr. Jerry Graham, a member of the famous Graham family and a complete lunatic. His partner, Bulldog Lolly, I have no idea, but he's across the ring from Jerry Miller, who later on would work as Duke Miller and was a big heel in the Gulf Coast territory in the early 70s, I think in the Central States also at one point. Doug Atkins maybe lost to history. Jack Bentz was a journeyman who, I remember a publicity picture of him with some kind of black cowboy hat went around quite a bit in the programs and probably of this time. Sky High Kruger, I don't know, because it's not Sky High Lee, and that would be the more famous Sky High. But Don McIntyre and Ray Gunkel against the Assassins tells me that we are in the state of Georgia. Don McIntyre was the top babyface in Georgia, and I think he may have owned part of the Office at one point, right, Brian? And then possibly sold. Correct. Is he the one that sold his part to Ray Gunkel?
No, I think he's the one who sold his part to Buddy Fuller.
That's right. Because the McIntyre and Gunkel were the two top baby faces before he sold his part to Gunkel or to Fuller, and Fuller had a team with Gunkel. And the Assassins, that's got to be real early. Jody Hamilton and Tom Renesto. So we're in Georgia, and because that, I just have to think it's the City Auditorium, and it's an Atlanta show. And it's the early 60s, but the question is, how early would, instead of dicking around and still getting this wrong, I'm just going to take a stab at it and say that 1962 would be late McIntyre and early Assassins and before Buddy Fuller.
That's a very good guess. We'll go into some details in a moment. Atlanta, Georgia, Jim. This is the Ringsider program, price 15 cents. The program for the air-conditioned City Auditorium. Friday, December 1st, 1961.
Oh!
This is the debut of the Assassins as a tag team.
Oh, my God.
The very first tag, and they win the Southern Tag Team Championship match, the title and the trophy. The first time they teamed up.
Good Lord. And I was 4 weeks off.
Let me just open the program for a moment. Since Vern Gagne put a TV commentator to sleep with a demonstration of his sleeper hold in Milwaukee, many TV and radio announcers are deathly afraid to interview the Minnesota athlete. Well, there you go, pulling the Hogan on Belzer. And then if I go to the back, here's Paul Jones's article, the promoter Paul Jones. Well, folks, we saw plenty of action in last week's big main event with Don and Ray going against the Assassin and Dr. Jerry Graham. After the Assassin couldn't get along with the Doctor yelled that they had Don and Ray beat if the Assassin hadn't refused to help him. Well, the Assassin said Graham was a stinking partner, and he would send for his own partner, the Assassin #2. So tonight, the Southern title and trophy will be at stake, with the Assassin #1 and #2 versus Don and Ray, the champions. And then it goes on from there. It's like all commas. There's no end to this in sight. And Sky High Kruger later became Bob Stanley.
Okay. Still not anybody you're going to fucking put in the Hall of Fame.
Now, again,
nevertheless,
this is the debut of the Assassins, December 61, almost 62. So this is pretty impressive that you came that close.
Well, and also I was going to mention the Assassins then would be the top in and out and back and forth, not consecutively, but the top recognized heel team in the state of Georgia for most of the next 10 years. And even into the late 70s and 80s, Jody Hamilton would work on top as both the Assassin and the Flame and open his own promotion there. Tom Renesto from mid-70s on would book a variety of places. So that was the beginning of a long run for them.
All right, Jim. Here's our next one. The opening contest, Mr. Electricity Steve Regal versus Baron von Raschke. Mr. Saito versus Jumping Jim Brunzell. The third contest, Kurt Hennig versus Nick Bockwinkel.
Ooh.
A tag team grudge match, Greg Gagne and Jerry Blackwell versus King Kong Brody and the Masked Superstar. For a tag title I will not name, the Road Warriors with Precious Paul Ellering in their corner versus the Fabulous Ones with the Crusher in their corner. And the main event for a world championship I will not name, the champion Ricky Martel versus gorgeous Jimmy Garvin with Valet Precious.
Oh, okay. Obviously, this is the AWA. We've got that part locked in. And I mean, it's a Hall of Fame all-star card. We can narrow down a few of these names in a second, but the year has to be either 1984 or 85, depending on what the month is, etc. Steve Regal from Indianapolis, we've talked about many times. He and Garvin were the AWA Tag Team Champions in this era. Baron von Raschke was on the twilight of his career at that point in the ring. Saito and Brunzell, Kurt Hennig and Nick Bockwinkel would later on be a AWA World Title match, but this is a couple of years before that. Brody being on the card was Superstar, and that was Bill Eadie at this point, was it not? Or did they have because was that Super Destroyer? The Irwins worked in the AWA at that time, but I didn't think Bill Eadie did. You're not going to tell me.
I don't know that it's not Bill Eadie, but I'm double checking. But let's presume it is for now.
Anyway, the Road Warriors against the Fabulous Ones. This was the experiment that Vern tried, where he put Crusher in the corner of the Fabulous Ones, and the Road Warriors had a heel manager, Paul Ellering, but they still were starting to cheer the Road Warriors, and the Fabs, they didn't get the gimmick up there. And then Martel against Garvin, it's for the AWA title. And that means, again, this is from summer of 84 to summer of 85, probably, but I don't, unless this is a superstar card at the St. Paul Civic Center in 1985.
Again, you're on the cusp. I don't know if we say this is a win or not. It's close. St. Paul Civic Center, Tuesday, December 25th, 1984.
You son of a bitch! The Christmas Spectacular. All right. Well, so I was 1 week off.
Some of that great Christmas spirit. You son of a bitch! All right.
Well, sometimes.
All right, let me
what was it? Putting his finger to his nose and raising his glass and telling us all to kiss his rosy red ass. He went up the chimney and flew out of sight, saying "Merry Christmas to all, and to all, fuck you."
Let me give you one that's right down the middle, but we're going for accuracy here.
All righty.
A tag team battle. Dr. Frank, Private Diamond.
Oh my God.
And the Mummy. What a team. Oh my God. versus Robert Gibson, Ricky Gibson, and Jerry Bryant. A special challenge match, Mr. Wrestling 2, allegedly, versus Pork Chop Cash. A big tag team championship match, I won't name the championship. The champions Phil Hickerson and Dennis Condrey versus Tommy Gilbert and George Wagner. There'll be an intermission, followed by another tag team championship match, Tommy Rich and Bill Dundee versus the champions Carl and Kurt Von Steiger. A tag team battle, David Schultz and Dutch Mantell versus Robert Fuller and Ron Fuller. A championship match, I will not name the championship, the champion Rocky Johnson versus Plowboy Frazier. An intermission followed by the main event, no disqualification, no time limit, stretcher match, no referee, Private Diamond barred, loser will be carried out, Jerry Lawler versus Bob Armstrong.
Okay. And we are in Memphis, Tennessee, obviously. And we are, well, let me run down some people. Dr. Frank, I can't even, the Mummy was just making a guest shot at that point. He wasn't even in the territory. Buddy Diamond, match. No, seriously. Buddy Diamond was the private diamond of Jerry Lawler, the King's Army. When Lawler was a heel and he had the, what I did in Smoky Mountain in 95, he had the fatigues on and the general's helmet and the riding crop. He led the King's Army. Buddy Diamond was a private. Jerry Bryant being on the card tips me off that with this many matches, it's Memphis because Jerry Bryant only worked the Memphis end of the territory, and this is not a spot show. Mr. Wrestling 2, at that time, I don't know who that was because in 75-ish, Don Green was doing a Mr. Wrestling gimmick and had the black and white mask and everything, but had some tie-dyed colors to it. Pork Chop Cash, we all know and love, Hickerson and Condrey. Tommy Gilbert and George Wagner was Gorgeous George Jr. after he had switched babyface and using his real name. Tommy Rich and Bill Dundee against Kurt and Carl Von Steiger was for the Southeastern tag team title, not the Southern tag title like Hickerson and Condrey, because this was when Jarrett first opened and was trading talent with Ron Fuller in Knoxville. Hence why David Schultz and Dutch Mantell were wrestling Ron and Robert Fuller on the card, because the Fullers came over also. Rocky Johnson against Plowboy Frazier was keeping Rocky busy because Plowboy is another heel that was affiliated with Lawler at the time. While that he was keeping Rocky busy while Lawler did this program with Bob Armstrong, who again at that time was splitting his time between Memphis and Knoxville. So the point is, I don't believe this is the Mid-South Coliseum. I think this is the Cook Convention Center. And I think this is between the last week of March and the middle of April 1987. I almost can't get any more specific than that.
I'm going to stop you one of these times.
Or 1977.
There
what
you
did
go.
I just say?
There you go. I thought
1977.
Well, Jim, the card, the Cook Convention Center.
Boom.
Sunday, March 20th, 1977.
There you go. That's what I said, right?
What about a Sunday show? What does that tell you?
Well, no, see, that was the thing, is that when Jarrett split off from Goulas, he had to go and get dates at the Cook Convention Center at what's considered last minute booking an arena. And Nick was still going to try to run the Mid-South Coliseum on the Monday nights that were booked. So Jarrett had to start out. Sunday was an acknowledged backup day in Memphis. The people knew that even the Coliseum, you might get the matches on Sunday if for some reason they couldn't go on Monday. But when he started out at the Cook, I think almost everything was on a Sunday before he could get back to a regular schedule at the Coliseum. And that's why that April 24th card, that where the first time he was back at the Coliseum, that was a Monday night.
Watch TV5 Wrestling live Saturday, 11:30 a.m. on Channel 5. Advance tickets for professional wrestling on sale at Cook Convention Center 9 to 5, Thursday to Sunday. Get them early. And here are the champions listed, Jim. World Heavyweight Champion Harley Race. World Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, the Anderson brothers, Ole and Gene. Southern Heavyweight Champion Rocky Johnson. Southern Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, Phil Hickerson and Dennis Condrey. What's up with Ole and Gene being listed there as the World Tag Team Champions?
Well, remember that's these were the new programs that the guy was helping Lawler and Jarrett do for the Memphis matches, and he just took, because they're NWA, he took the NWA champions out of the magazines. Ole and Gene were never booked in fucking Memphis once, ever in their careers.
There's a great pose shot of Pork Chop Cash and Dr. Frank on the back here.
And probably that was Ken Dillinger at that point. I don't know who the mummy was that night.
And then there's a picture of Abdullah the Butcher coming soon. He's coming back. Abdullah the Butcher. A pawn in the game. Jerry Lawler claims to have paid a fantastic sum to Abdullah the Butcher to destroy his enemies, and there's many of them. This ruthless animal has spilled blood from coast to coast and tops every poll as the most hated wrestler in the world. When he comes to your area, beware, because he's dangerous and unpredictable and capable of going berserk. Did he come in?
I don't think so. He never made Louisville ever. I would have to go back and look to see if they snuck him in one week in Memphis, but I'm going to say no, because I saw that same program and I was like, oh, this will be cool. And it didn't happen. But that's what Jarrett, again, he had just opened up. He was working with, at his first card in Memphis, Eddie Graham came up and was there in the back. But Jack Briscoe was on the card. Dusty was on the card. Also, the Fullers were there from Knoxville. Also, I heard that he had talked Barnett into coming. But once again, I was not that close then to know who everybody was and who was in the back. But he wanted to work with all the Southern territories. So he was looking to see what kind of different talent he could bring in that Nick hadn't burned out that he might still be able to use in Memphis.
Well, there it is, Jim. We said a rather short guest the program, 3 programs. What do you think of how you did today?
I didn't do too bad. I was only a month off, a week off, and I hit the fucking, so that's kind of 2 out of 3 somehow.
I think so. That's a victory.
A short segment of guess the program. I wish Tony Khan would get the idea.
A victory for you and a victory for the listeners. That was guess the program. And Jim, with that, the drive-thru has closed. Well, hold on. Let's do that over. Much better, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Of course, we'll be back next week here on the drive-thru, and in a few days on the Jim Cornette Experience, we will finish the list of the top wrestlers in their 40s in 1984 next week on the show with your questions and more. Check it out. Go through the archive, patreon.com/Cornette. $5 a month gets you access to the archive going back to 2013. Patreon.com/Cornette. The official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Go and subscribe today. Full episodes, clips of the episodes, omnibus collections, very popular George Livonitis artwork. Check it out today. The official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Cornette's Collectibles at JimCornette.com. What's going on, Jim?
Commerce at JimCornette.com. Buy something today.
At JimCornette.com. The drive-thru is brought to you by the law office of Stephen Pinu, 877-50-STEVE. Get even with Stephen at newlawoffice.com. But with that, in a few days on the Experience and next week back here on the drive-thru, For Jim Cornette, I'm the great Brian Last. Tally-ho!